TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark's at it.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark's at it stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm TruthSeekah. I'm your host. This is my podcast. Welcome. Everyone come in. Have a seat. Excited, delighted, as always, to be with you guys. We explore all things spiritual in and out of that topic, subject, niche, and UFOs, things that go bump in the night, and Ariel phenomena is definitely a part of it. There is definitely that part, and I've definitely been exploring the spiritual side of ufology, and that's my forte. I really like that side. And then, we have the other people, the other side that we've kind of been getting into a little bit, the UAPs. It's like they want to see something physical, want to see something nuts and bolts and stuff like that. But we're going to explore the subject. I've been exploring it. I've had experiences, and my guest today has got some awesome information as well. And he's a seeker and a truther, and he's digging as well. So he's got his own podcast and over 400 and something episodes, and so maybe he's got some answers for us. We're going to find out. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody supporting my work via Patreon. This is a listener supported, listener funded show. Again, doesn't exist without your help. So thank you for the continued support from the bottom of my heart. Doesn't exist without your help. You guys are co-creators, co-laborers. Thank you. It means the world. Shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Devin Moser. Shout out to you, Devin. Thanks for coming on. And Hunter Perner. Thank you, Hunter and Devin. You guys rock. If you want to support, go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to my entire discography of music. It's over 200 plus songs. All of the extra interviews and behind the scenes stuff's available over there. My meditations are there. For those of you who are looking for my guided meditations and stuff, that's available. Thursday night School of the Mystics, we got that available. We'll have to post the dates that we're going to do that. And so I don't have a date this month yet, but you can go check that out. We're going to be doing it soon for sure. So we do Sunday morning breath work with the Mystic Circle. You can find all of that info at patreon.com/TruthSeekah, or just go to TruthSeekah.com and you'll be able to get all of the stuff there. Guys, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's discussion. My guest today is Mr. Martin Willis. Martin, welcome to the TruthSeekah podcast, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
We're going to try to get to the bottom of some stuff. We're going to get some answers. Everybody wants to know the truth. What is happening in ufology? Like I said, you've got over, 480 something episodes on your podcast?
Yes.
And
on the UFO subject, I have other podcasts, or I started podcasting kind of early in the game, around 2009, which was sort of on the early side. I think it started in like 2005 or six, something like that. So I started with other types of podcasts, but the UFO one has definitely been the most fascinating of all the different things I've done. I really
What
enjoy it.
platform was you using early on?
As far as, I was just
Podcast.
plain recording and then sending. It was so hard to podcast in the beginning. It took like 4 or 5 days to set up a podcast. Now you can do one and set one up in 10 minutes. It was really, really difficult. And I had to have a lot of help at that time. And now everything's so smooth to do. So that would go to only iTunes at the time. That was the only thing where you could throw a podcast out there. And eventually other things started to develop where you could send the RSS feed, a little technical there, but you could send it out to other platforms. Now, like automatically goes all over the place. It's great.
Yeah, I started out back then earlier as well, and with Blog Talk. Did you ever mess with Blog Talk Radio back in the day? It was huge for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So expensive to use that now. It's not worth it. The quality's bad. If you're using Blog Talk, stop. Like there's better and resources for cheaper. I'll say that. Your show is Podcast UFO. Very, very generic, very easy to find. If they go to any platform, type that in, they'll be able to find it. What's your main website just off the bat?
It's podcastufo.com. See, from knowing how URLs work, I was looking into all this stuff early on. And I know that it's key to have a very simple URL that says what you're saying. And of course, I wanted to get UFO podcasts, and that didn't exist at the time. I've been offered it since. But anyway, you couldn't get that at the time. So I said, well, I know it's kind of a weird name for a show, but why not Podcast UFO? And so I stuck with it. And, it's been really interesting over these years. And I never seem to have a problem getting guests on, which is, for other types of shows for platforms I was doing in fine arts and antiques and other things like that. I did comedy for a while. It's not always easy to get people on in those type of as guests, but a lot of people really want to talk about this subject because it is so fascinating. And there are so many, think how this could change the world if we actually knew what was going on. Right now, we still don't really know. Maybe parts of a government might know more than we do, but I really don't think they know the whole story. That's what my thoughts are.
Well, we both interview people who do know the whole story, right?
Well, we tell people, there are people out there that think they know the whole story. That's when you kind of, you can kind of question all that.
Because you have been in this for years, and you said before we went live exactly what I say. You've interviewed over 400 something people, and now you got more questions. Now you're more in the dark now than you were when you started. Trying to get some answers, right? Because it's so many pieces to this puzzle.
Right. And I have to, I say this all the time, that I have to keep an open mind. And so that being said, I will listen to someone, even if it's a little bit out there, because it's still, there might be a little bit in a little piece that they say that I'll go, well, that's interesting. That's one of the reasons I do this, is because there's so many interesting facets and possibilities to what might be happening. Are these things, are they actually physical or nuts and bolts? Are they energy? Are they something that is projected and we see it as such? And then if so, how does that work with a mass UFO sighting when there's 1,000 witnesses? For instance, the Phoenix Lights case back in 1997, I think that's when it was, March 13th, 1997. So in a case like that, there were thousands of people. But you know what? They don't always say the exact same thing, which I think is interesting. Some people say they saw a structured craft. Some people said this thing floated over them and they could see through it, but it was rippling like the heat does on a hot day off the pavement, that type of ripple. And some people claimed it was miles wide. That's plural. Like this huge, huge object back in 1997. Other people say, well, that was, that's our black projects, out for a test drive. And I don't believe if there was something miles wide that was out for a test drive, made no sound, where, first of all, would that land where it would never be detected? And how could that still be not, talked about, somehow at this point with what
Yeah.
that is?
Yeah, those
So,
are those were like still the early days of ufology. We've come along. I say early days. We go back to the 40s, right? Was it 1949, 48?
well, that's what they call the modern era. I
It
mean,
was
the
the
people,
big one. It was like pop culture, tabloids, that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
started in 47. Yep, all that.
Mhm.
But prior to that, people have had sightings. There's some amazing sightings, and a lot of people say, well, there's no such thing as a triangle sighting before, the 1990s or something like that, and that's baloney. I mean, I've talked to people. I talked to someone recently that is not in the UFO circuit, so to speak, that said, oh yeah, I saw a triangle craft back in 1972, or
Yeah.
something like that. So,
Well,
in
go ahead.
much earlier, they go all the way back to the turn of the century, where people have seen turn of the 20th century, where people have seen triangular objects.
Yeah, and probably dating back way before that. Like I
Yes.
love getting into, I say religious guy. I'm spiritual, not religious. But I like to look into the religious iconography, the chariots of the gods, the chariots of fire, and even some of the stuff that was in like early newspapers of like there's accounts of like craft in Jerusalem, like in the Renaissance days and before. There's some real where everyone saw these orbs and shapes and colors, and there was a website that I found early on called BibleUFO.net. Patrick Cook. Are you familiar with his work at all?
I may have seen something, but I'm not
Okay.
familiar with his work in particular.
Well, he
But
had
I may have seen what he did. Yeah.
yeah, he was on Ancient Aliens once or twice, and he's no longer
Yeah.
with us. But his work really influenced me because it was showing you like Bible verses that could be talking about UFOs and the
Yeah.
paranormal, linking them both together. And I
Yeah.
was hooked. There was a section on there, and I've tried my best to restore that website. It was .com, but it lapsed once he passed and he lost his work. So I've tried to restore BibleUFO.net. But there's a section on there where there's all of these reports in like, the ancient world, like dating all the way back to today, all of these famous sightings. And, when you hear about that stuff, it's like, it's awesome just to see what it could be, what these craft could be, right? Is it something that, where religion comes into play? I mean, that's where Ancient Aliens gets popular because they try to tie it in with religion and try to tie it in with Christianity or Islam or Hinduism and these modern day craft that we're seeing. But speaking about going from ancient craft to the 40s, 60s, 70s, 90s till today, there's the theory that if it is back engineered technology or just our technology, some of the earlier footage that we've seen, people say that these ships seem to be a bit clunky. Like there's an evolution to some of these flying saucers, if you will, that were kind of maybe wobbling and stuff like that. And then now they're more, as technology progresses, these so-called UFOs progress as well. What do you think about that? Is that just our depiction in movies, or was this some of the clunky stuff caught on camera? What do you think that theory entails? That maybe it was our technology and we've been working on and evolving it over the years.
Yeah, I don't buy into that theory. But I understand what you're talking about, like the wobbly. I've seen, images and things of that, but I don't know how accurate all that is. There is a one video that you can watch, and it's a wobbly UFO going over a bunch of buildings in a city, and that ended up being a hoax.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Which
that.
is, I mean, it's really, really good. There's some really, really good hoaxes, and so I don't really know, but I have said many times that it seems like the UFO is a different model as we go along. What I had a sighting I saw was a perfect shaped saucer, if you will, but I mean, they seem to evolve. There's a lot of orbs, people talking about that, and there's a lot of the structured crafts, a lot of them today that people see are triangular. But getting back to ancient times, if you look at it logically, we're in this little space of time here, And it's a very tiny, tiny space of time as far as where we're at. And for another evolved intelligence out there, wherever it's from, the odds of it landing here a million years ago are just as, are the same odds, if you ask me, as they are if they land now. So because of how we would line up with another intelligence elsewhere could have been established, millions and millions of years ahead of us, and have developed technology enough to travel the stars, possibly, long, long time ago, and could have visited us. And so for our civilizations to line up, it would be kind of miraculous, if you really think about it, to be on the same level at the same time. So I understand that. I mean, my thoughts are, I guess I should say, is that we could have been visited, as long as humans, were evolving here. And, what we evolved from is still kind of interesting. If supposedly we've only been around for a few 100,000 years, to me, that's kind of a big question mark too.
How did you get into this? Starting to do the podcast, like what was your fascination with this?
Well, with UFOs, it was simply that I had a UFO sighting. It wasn't a real dramatic, it's not an earth-shattering sighting, but it really made me, think, wow, there's this, whatever it is, it's real, and there's something to this. What is it? So it's a curiosity thing that really started me on this. And as I was doing the other podcast, I thought, well, this seems like a really interesting topic. I think I'll try to dive into it, which I did, but it was, through reading, and I watched documentaries and things like that on it. And James Fox, Out of the Blue, or there's another one, I Know What I Saw. Those two videos really were very instrumental into me thinking about, wow, there's so much to this, much more than I thought there was. And when I saw that there were intelligent people speaking about this, and, like, for instance, an iconic person, Stanton Friedman, who passed away, a few years ago, a nuclear physicist, taking this topic seriously, who never had a UFO sighting, by the way, but he knew that there was something going on that's unexplainable, and with enough credible witnesses, excuse me, to really invest his time. And he did, like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 talks around the world on this subject. And, he had a lot of really good points. I miss him. He was a great guy.
Yeah. So he brought a lot to the table, and that's always interesting to me to interview these people, the authors. They write books, and they have, whether it's a podcast or considered an expert in the field, and they've never had an encounter, or they've never had, and I talk about all of this stuff, especially with, spirituality. My big thing for me is I've had a couple encounters, UFO encounters, maybe demons, aliens, angels, or whatever. But the stuff that really grabs me is the stuff when something pops into our realm. Like, that's why the paranormal interests me, because it's not us going into their realm, but it's something happens and we see, the dimensions get thin, the veil get thin, and a ghost shows up, or a UFO pops in and pops out, or a fairy or a gnome, that kind of stuff. And so, I would interview these people over the years. I'm in this because I've had stuff happen to me. Something popped in and said hello and popped out. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I put me on a lifelong pursuit, trying to resummon this thing, or whatever it is, And I talk to people who have books and podcasts and movies and stuff, and they're speaking as an expert, and I'll be like, okay, do you have any experience? Have you ever seen a UFO? And they're like, no, I've never seen one. It's like, oh God, like you're so passionate about the subject, and you're so interested, and you've collected all these facts over the years, but it would seem like it would be an encounter that would, like, capture you, like it did me, that, like, kind of, lit it on fire for you. But it could have been a documentary, it could have been a movie, like you said, for these people. That's always something interesting. A book, something did it to make them want to pursue it, But it was always weird when they write books on angels. Have you ever seen an angel? No, I haven't. Oh, wow. I figured you had an encounter, and so you wrote a book on it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting thing that you just said about the popping in and out, because that's a lot of theories that these things, whatever they are from another dimension. You know, I mean, that's one of the theories that you hear about quite a bit. Actually, my last guest, and I think maybe a couple of guests before, both kind of on a similar tact in that direction. And it does kind of explain a lot of encounters, you know, like how could something be there and, you know, we didn't even see it zip off, it's just gone. And, you know, and then there's it just raises more questions is what it does. Like, okay, well, why is it a craft then? Why is the craft coming through another dimension and not like someone just stepping through this other dimension, whatever it is? And how do they get in and how do they get back? And how, if they're here and they're actually physically here somehow, maybe part of dark matter, dark energy, I don't know what they are, but that would it could possibly explain that whole phenomenon as well. But you know, it's more questions is all it is. And to even know what type of question to ask is a challenge.
Yeah, it's strange because over the years with spirituality and talking to all these people, and just like you, it's like, if one of these people are telling the truth, you've had 480 something episodes, I've got 450. If one of them's telling the truth out of all those people, then hey, we got something. Even if your encounter, if it was real, you know, but we approach it as skeptics, but wanting proof and having an open mind, because like, for some of these stories that are so far out and so grandiose, and you know, my BS detector goes off, deet, 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 deet. And whether it's fantasy, you know, fantasy kind of creeps in, and that genre, you know, of romanticizing it, you know, escapism, you know, versus somebody who really had a being pop in their room. And we're dealing with people who are making it up. I feel like I feel like I interviewed them. I got to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I know you feel that way, but you approach it the same way. I got to give you the benefit of the doubt, because why? I wasn't there. Like, I wasn't with you when this happened. I've been talking about this documentary that really opened my eyes recently on Netflix. I just want to ask you, have you seen it? Misha and the Wolves on Netflix. Have you seen that?
No, I have not seen that, unfortunately.
It's a good one.
I would have done my homework last night if you threw me an email.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, well, you got your homework now. Listen. I want to come on your podcast, watch that documentary, and let's discuss that on your show or something. It'd be awesome. But I'll just say, you know, we're interpreting stuff, man. You know, we're interpreting the UFO. We can see the same thing, and it means something different to both of us. Just like in the movie E.T., whenever Elliot had an encounter with E.T., but also the scientists did. And it's something beautiful at the end. Elliot's sick and the scientist is there, and he's trying to get information about E.T. And Elliot says, he came to me first. He says, yeah, I know, but Elliot, he also came to me too. I've been waiting for this my whole life. And but that relationship with that alien, that UFO, you know, its beauty is in the eye of the beholder, you know. So we talk to people, and some would say they're demons, or they're angels, or they're our ancestors, or they're us from the future. And you know, these theories just keep going and keep going. If any of these theories are true, amazing. What if all of them are true? Which is probably more likely. Like, all of this stuff is happening.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think, and I've heard Jacques Vallée, a leading, you know, ufologist, kind of say the same thing. You know, it's not just one thing, it's many things. And, you know, we may not even know the questions to ask about what these things are. I mean, it may be so beyond our thinking. I mean, you really think about what we can detect around us alone is just a small percentage. Our spectrum, for instance, is just very low, and there's so much more out there going on that we can't even see or even detect. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And it
I mean,
really could be a lot of things.
that goes on to something we talked a little bit before we went live, was just this the idea of consciousness, right? And this seems like something new. Maybe it's been discussed a little bit. I feel like Terrence McKenna, maybe there's been people who talk about UFOs in consciousness, whether we will them into our existence. Again, with spirituality, talking to all these people, I do think that what you believe shows itself to you, even if it didn't exist. The fact that you believe it enough, it appears and says hello. Like, I think we're teeter-tottering with that thought of angels, fairies, demons, right? Because we both see the same thing, and it shows itself to us according to what our light, the light that is within us. Literally, the light of your eyes and your spectrum and your brain tells you what it is according to what's in you, according to your studies, according to your belief, according to your religion. And maybe it comes out of the dark matter, like you said. Maybe that there's this place of 0 point in creation where if it's in space, or it's outer space and inner space. I know we're getting real crazy really quick, but I do think that what you believe shows itself to you. And you just had a conversation with the guy who talked about that it could have something to do with consciousness, and UFOs connecting and communicating telepathically. Like there's that whole deal too. So that's a game changer though, because we haven't heard much about that until recently. Now a lot of people are saying, whether we will them to happen, or we communicate telepathically, or they know that you're awake and you want to see one, so they come and say hello, all of that kind of stuff. So what's been the study and the research or the theories you've heard about consciousness and UFOs being connected that way?
Well, more or less what you just said about, willing them in. But, my question to that is, okay, like to say if a single person is willing something in, then how it doesn't speak to all the sightings, because people could be driving down, the freeway, and all of a sudden everyone's pulled over because there's UFO going over, in New York, like in
well, I mean that it would show up to the collective, even not just in your own sight or being able to see it, like whether one person willed that to happen or the collective consciousness, because that's a theory that the debunkers say, and I'm not trying to say it as a debunker. I'm saying that if I can pull it in, then we all can see it. Like if I can believe it, or if we can get the majority to believe it. But yeah, they will try to debunk it and say you're the only one who saw that, and yeah, I don't believe that either.
Yeah, I don't know what I think about that. I think there could be definitely something to that, but here's for instance, the C-SETI thing, when these people all get together and they try to, will in a UFO. I have a friend who's actually here with me now in the room, who went to one of those in upstate New York, and they were basically
C-SETI or E-SETI?
I'm sorry, E-SETI.
Okay, E-SETI. Well, there's both. They have both.
CE5.
Yeah. Okay.
CE5.
There you go. And I'm a big proponent of that, by the way, just so you know.
Okay. Well, anyway, what they basically were seeing were possibly like space junk and hitting the light, from the sun at the time, and and then, but it went off the rails kind of deep though, because one night when she was there, it was raining, and they went inside, and correct me if I'm wrong, they said it was outside or something like that.
We were on the ship. The ship was.
Oh, they were on the ship.
The room became.
The room became the ship. Now, to me, that kind of goes out there a little too far, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like the room they were sitting in all of a sudden became the ship, and I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of like some of the earlier stuff of that. Of like, I feel like it was Stephen Greer, actually close to me, in Gulf Breeze, Florida, by Pensacola. They saw the site, and they saw, like, they did the CE5, and there's videos of these things blinking and then turning on these beautiful lights, and it was documented. The news came out and documented it. It was in the next day, but so they're on the beach and they're looking out way out there and they're seeing these lights come on as they're trying to make contact, right? And then they sit down and then there's a spiritual aspect to it, right? They got to tie in the spirituality. And then they said something similar. They felt like a translucent ship was above them and then came down and they were in this translucent ship. Like they came down and on top of everybody and they were in it. Yeah. I don't think they could see it though. I think it was more of a spiritual knowing or something like that. Is that kind of what happened with this other?
I don't know exactly, but if that's exactly what happened in that particular situation, but I don't know. I have my mixed feelings about that.
We got to have people exploring though, so you're talking about asking the questions, like that's a question that we got to ask, and not just ask, but devote your life to it, because all of this stuff takes a lifelong pursuit, right? It's not a weekend. Yes. It's not like a weekend thing, it's a lifelong pursuit of, I've been doing CE5 since I was 10 and I've been doing it for 30 years kind of thing, and I can tell you what I've experienced. And they're taking pictures of stuff. I don't know if it's a being or energy or light that reflects off of it. I've had some amazing encounters with the CE5. I will say that there was a video. And since you've been in this for a while, you may have seen it. Prophet Yahweh. Does that name ring a bell? Okay. No. So anyway, he, Raymond Watkins, he was a black guy out of Los Angeles. And he said he learned how to summon UFOs by using the Hebrew version of the Bible. And this was mid 2000s. He goes out into the field and they get the news crew come out there. And he puts out a map and a mat. He gets out and he prays on it, and he prays and asks for a sighting. And the news crew's there and they're documenting it. And literally these orbs or something shows up in the sky. And then they're like, oh my God, he asked for it and it happened. And so for me, that's what like lit a fire in me. I'm a student of the Bible. And then I was reading that website, BibleUFO.com. And then I see that video and it's like, I got to go out and try it. But I didn't know if you had seen that video.
No. So
that was one of the early ones for sure.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I do try to keep up with things, but also I have a very busy life other than this as well. So it's hard to keep a balance, but I always enjoy learning new things and watching new things. So it's something I'll probably watch at some point.
Yeah. So when you mention CE5, there's a little bit of hesitancy there. What is it? Because a lot of people will say like, these are demons. You're asking demons to come and you're going to get abducted and, they're just playing tricks on you. There's a lot of what ifs, because we're still asking questions. But what are some of the things that you would say you would be hesitant about? Is it the dangers of it, or is it that you saw something and you wanted it to see it so bad that, like you said, it was just space junk and you said it was a UFO, which we totally can happen if you get in that state of mind, for sure.
Well, I think it's the whole premise of, it's probably not a good idea for me to talk bad about someone.
You don't have to say any names. Just
I don't mind saying. It's just I really thought Stephen Greer did a really good job in the beginning, and then I think he became leaning toward making money out of this
celebrity.
Yeah, this making the money out of this whole thing. So I kind of have not really been interested in the things he's done. However, I will say he did really amazing work in the very beginning, but I think, as someone retiring as a doctor at a young age, that was probably making really good money, and to try to keep his lifestyle, he had to try to make a money thing out of this. So I think, I can understand that aspect of it, but I don't think that's a way to treat this subject. So
now what about Gilliland, James Gilliland? Because you mentioned Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, I just got Australia.
That's so. Peter Maxwell Slattery became a partner and started ECETI Australia, but that comes from ECETI, Trout Lake, Washington, Mount Adams with James Gilliland. So he's kind of like friends with James and started his own branch kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know much about, I mean, I had someone write me recently about James, but I don't know much about him in particular. So, but I will say Australia is really quite an amazing country as far as this topic. They really is one of my main listeners to my show. For 26 million people in a country, they're usually second or third listeners in the entire world. So there's a lot of people interested in this subject in Australia. Definitely.
Yeah. Check out James because, like I said, I know Peter and but James, I found James early on. Probably James and Greer early on too, and I like Greer, but I understand where you're coming from. Everybody's heard stuff and seen stuff about him and had dinner with him, and you hear different stories. I'll say that, So that's probably who the New York thing was with Greer instead of Gilliland, right?
Yeah,
because
right.
They both were staples on the CE5. I say.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's got the CE5 app and it's branded more, but Gilliland's spiritual. They've got some interesting videos, man. Gilliland and ECETI.org, and he's got his own ranch in Washington, right at this mountain, and there's orbs and lights going into the mountain. There's stuff that's communicating with them in the sky. All kinds of stuff happening, but they're really big onto the spiritual aspect of it.
Interesting.
So yeah, definitely something to check out if you haven't had him on, and look into his story. But again, you're saying you got to take all of this stuff with a grain of salt. We don't know. I mean, that's the biggest thing about a lot of this stuff is that people start off legit. I mean, nobody can take away like the work that Greer did with the Disclosure Project. With the government, man, getting all these people together to have this press conference to try to get some disclosure in government, and brought all of these people in military and in law enforcement and in Congress to come together and share their stories. Like, say what you want, but like you said, in the early days, like he seemed really legit,
Yeah, he did a nice job. Yeah. But I've seen that a few times. And this is where I won't mention any names, of course, is that I have seen a number of times over the years through this, that people seem to want to make themselves relevant at the time. So they'll kind of go off the rails a bit on something just to get in the spotlight, alone. I've seen that happen a number of times.
You kind of got to, though. You kind of got to.
Well, I mean, if you're not embellishing, yeah, I agree. I mean, you maybe look into something new or write a book about something new. You're known for, say, Rendlesham Forest, but that's kind of petered out or whatever the interest in that. So look into something else. I understand that's perfectly fine. But if you over embellish something and lead people down the wrong path, then there's a problem. I think there's a problem because
I'm with you.
What's going to happen once people start doing that, then it turns people off, and you're going to have, these people are all crazy anyway, so why pay attention to them? They don't know what they're doing. Yeah. They don't know what they're talking about. There's nothing to it.
Okay. So not saying any names, can I say the name, maybe Corey Good?
I know of him.
And David Wilcock, is.
Yeah.
I love David's work, and I'll say it his Corey Good stuff was like the tip of the iceberg. Is training Corey Good, and so you have all these people who are in it, and there's another way to kind of duplicate himself to continue to make money. Like, hey, if there was two of me on the circuit, we can double the money, kind of thing. And Corey Good did it for a lot of people. Seekers, but a lot of people, what I mean about embellishing is that a lot of people love Corey Good. They love it. They love, and it goes back to what I said at the beginning, fantasy, where fantasy ties in. Yes, everyone close your eyes. We're going to travel to Mars in 3, 2, 1. Oh my God, what do you see? Well, I see aliens everywhere. And,
I think you said it earlier on, something about escapism. And that's what a lot of this stuff can be tied to. I mean, there's a lot of stress living as a human being on this planet. And there's a lot of ways that people do try to escape, whether it's alcohol, drugs, go on and on
religion.
With the different religion. But also this can be treated like its own religion. And, people can believe in something so strongly that they basically live for it and then make excuses for it when things, I mean, look at QAnon, for instance. People can just believe in something and it gives them some type of false hope. And even if they get let down, they'll make excuses to carry on that belief.
Yeah, they won't. They'll never admit it. It's cognitive dissonance, like at the height, and echo chambers and stuff. And
I hope you're not a QAnon, are you?
Not by any means. I'm a Christian, so like a lot of my friends are hardcore. Like Trump is here to take out the cabal and all of this. Like it's bad, and they just released the damn flight logs and reports that Trump was taking trips to Epstein Island and all of this stuff. And I didn't tell him my friends ever since the beginning. I was like, hey, he's one of them, y'all. No, he's not. He's in there to change the game. I said, no, you can't be it. You can't. They'd never let you in. You can't get in there as a one man who has, come on, he's one of them. No, he's not. God has anointed him to go in there and change and bring hope to America. Okay, man. Because I know what it does for you. Because this is stressful, man. When you learn about the wickedness and all the crazy stuff that's going on, you got to have a scenario that brings you comfort. I mean, that I can admit with my own religious beliefs, or even the questions of them, is that certain beliefs bring me comfort, and I can't prove them. I don't know them, but I know that believing certain things do bring me comfort. We're on a freaking flying rock in the middle of the universe, hanging on, trying to pay bills, and so there's so much stuff that happens, but it's a lot to be said. But I will say, I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. Watch that documentary. Just off of what you just said, watch the documentary for sure. It may harm you though. It may harm you because we talk to these people, but I say these people, I think we're these people too, so I got to say that, like, we all have our own cultist beliefs, and, we're looking at the same thing, but everyone believes something different. It's because of our upbringing. It's because of our experiences and traditions and all of that. But I mean, I have people on the show and I'm friends with them who will tell you the fuel that these UFOs use, like how their propulsion systems, their diets of these aliens, what they eat, what their spiritual beliefs are. And it starts off as maybe a place of innocence, of like a fascination, or maybe having an experience, but then it turns into, we're going to continue writing books about their religion and about this. And I think it turns into, what's the guy's name who ended up writing almost like a version of the Bible on it? Older guy, he's an OG. What was his name? He was the one who in the chat can help me out if you guys know, Billy Meyer.
Oh, Billy Meyer. Yeah.
Billy Meyer. And it's like the more research you do, you're like, I think it was a hoaxer, man. He shot video. He had like women that were dressed in these like silver suits and stuff.
That was the Dean Martin show. Yeah.
Yeah, and like those were celebrities and stuff, that he was using or
actually had it in his book. And then his excuse for that, if I remember right, was that at the publishing, someone put that in the book. It wasn't him, but yeah, there's always answers. And Michael Horn is his United States representative.
I had him on.
You had him on your show?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So yeah, he's very aggressive in defending Billy Meyer for sure.
Yeah, we had a couple people try to challenge him in the chat, and I was just trying to, get those questions over there to him. I mean, I'm a skeptic. You got to be a skeptic.
Yeah.
I feel like you get to see more. I feel like if there's some truth out there, if you're a skeptic, you'll be able to see some really cool stuff, because you're just not like taking anybody's word for it. Like,
Yeah.
but then at the end of the day, like, how much proof does anyone have, of people, because we're dealing with so many hoaxers in the midst of it.
Well, that not only that, it's the UFO phenomenon is so elusive. I mean, like we may get data from radar pictures and things like that, but I mean, it's stuff that you can grab and hold in your hands, because that's the fact. A lot of people have not taken it seriously over the years, but now more and more people are, and I'm pretty optimistic about that. This coming week, coming up, I have John Ramirez, who is a former CIA, that is going to talk. I've listened to an interview with him. He's very good. Should be fascinating to hear his interview. But one of the things I've heard him say, which is really bizarre, and you wouldn't expect him to say this, is he actually talks about beings that he's encountered. And he also says, when he'll stop talking about this, when our government finally comes out and admits that we are hybrids, because he claims that's what we are. And so I've been really looking into this guy to make carefully. I challenged him yesterday. Basically, I said, I really, I know there's no way to document that you actually work for the CIA, but I would like to see your CIA Retirees Association certificate if I could. And he almost canceled on me. But instead, he sent me his tax forms that clearly show that he worked for Central Intelligence.
Okay.
So,
wow.
But he worked there. He's long retired, but he won't go into things that are classified. For his non-disclosure agreement. But
yeah,
he will say things that he and other fellow CIA agents discussed. And the most amazing thing I think I heard him say about that is a lot of people who've had this type of interest and encounters are attracted to going into the CIA, which I think is kind of the tail wagging the dog type of thing, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. It was so what about the theory too of like the retired CIA guys and retired military guys are like still working to put disinfo out there?
Yeah,
muddy the
I've
water.
had a lot of people question me. I mean, this has happened in the past, but I brought that question up when I interviewed Lewis or Lou Elizondo, and he was not happy with that question. He said, why would I do this to a fellow American? He said, we can't do this to a fellow citizen. And he was really, really offended by the questions of my listeners. Like, are you a disinformation agent? Because he's charming. He's very intelligent. He would be the perfect disinformation agent, definitely. But I really don't think that's his motive. He gave up his career supposedly, and he's a very sensitive person. I've gotten to know him a little bit. I talk mostly with his wife, communicate mostly with his wife, but he's a very sensitive person, and he does not like getting bashed by the UFO community because he really wants to get the information out there and thinks that we should know. Yeah. And I would love to know what he knows. Okay. I really would love to know what he knows, but I'm not really nervous that he's out there as a disinformation agent. There are other examples. Richard Doty, I don't know if you heard that name, but there are other examples of people that have been known to actually get the disinfo out there.
Yeah. It muddies the water, sucks, but you gotta deal with it. And that's in everything. That is in religion, that is in whatever it is. It's, people are trying to throw you off or get you off the trail, but I could totally see the government doing that for sure. Thoughts on, I mentioned the government or CIA, like thoughts on my lab, the MyLab abductions, which I kind of equate most of the scary stuff to MyLab stuff, and at least from my study and experiences, the military induced, I guess it would be called, abductions, where they think that the government is doing experiments on people, or they have made pacts with aliens. I mean, that could be a part of it, but people who have had these evil alien experiences where they're getting stuff put in them and taken out and all that, they talk about seeing people in military garbs on the ship in the corner, these little alien men, and in the background there's somebody in the military garb taking notes and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on the MyLab abductions?
I never really gave much credence to that. So I don't know, like I said earlier, I should have an open mind, but I can't see that actually, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm closed-minded when it comes to that, but I can't see that as a viable thing that that whole thing with the meeting with Eisenhower and the pact made that, for permission to trade, technology for being able to abduct people, all that. I don't think there's anything to that myself personally, but there it's an interesting story. And, but I personally think it's a science fiction myself, but I may be totally wrong on that. I don't know. So
which theory or belief do you hold to the closest, as far as, again, the possibilities are endless, but is there one theory, is there one belief of who or what any of these things are, right? There's races, there's interdimensionals, they live on a different planet, there ain't, like, there's so many, but what's the one that makes the most sense for you as somebody who's talked to probably explored all of these theories?
Well, I think I guess I would have, if I had to choose one, I would say most likely extraterrestrial. But there's a lot of questions. How did they get here? But I also think that we're thinking in human terms, and not, there's probably physics that we have not discovered, that a much higher intelligence can actually figure these things out, that we have no clue how to do and how to get here by folding over time space or whatever it is they do, that they can jump or whatever. But I struggle with that too. Like, why would, if there are intelligent species all over the universe, billions and billions of them, why are we being looked at compared to others? And maybe all are being looked at. I mean, it just opens the door for more and more questions, which I have no answers for any of them, only guesses. But a lot of times I do, like, I had something pointed out to me the other day from a friend. I was on a long conversation with him, and I said, we tend to look at these things in our own perspectives, like, what would we do? But we shouldn't do that, because we have no idea how something evolves and how another intelligence can be, and what they could possibly be thinking. And the guy said, well, there's one thing in common. If they're here, then that thing in common is curiosity. So I thought, wow, that's a really good point. So they have to have that curiosity. Whatever it is that's here has to have some type of curiosity. And I think that's something I had never thought about until I had this conversation the other day. So whatever they are, they're obviously curious. I think it's also you talked about telepathy earlier at some point, and I don't remember exactly the context of that, but still, one of the things I think is really interesting is the common telepathy that people claim that they have with these creatures that they have seen, these beings, whatever they are, is take care of this planet.
Yeah.
Which I think is profound. And I think there's something to that, and
Yeah.
that, we have so many differences in our society. And, if we could all come together and not, we always feel like, this country in particular feels like it's on the verge of, I don't want to say collapse, but it's on the verge. It feels like it could be on the verge of a civil war type of thing. Maybe, I don't say all the time, but occasionally I'll have those thoughts, and these things are not going to be good for any of us. And, hopefully we'll figure out how to solve these things, because as we move forward, it seems like it's getting worse. And, we are definitely capable of destroying ourselves. And that's also one other thing I'd like to bring up, if it's all right, is that I had an astrophysicist on named Stephen Bennett. I'm sorry, what was his first name?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, not Bassett. It was Bennett, Jeffrey Bennett. Jeffrey Bennett. He's a astrophysicist. He was a visiting scientist at NASA, and he had conversations with fellow NASA. And the conversation between them went something, I'm paraphrasing, but if any intelligent civilization can get through the bottleneck of technology without blowing themselves up, they will be traveling the stars. And I just love that quote, because, again, thinking in human terms, but quote, any intelligence. Because we have to struggle through that technology bottleneck. We have the nuclear arms, we have AI, we have all these things that can easily destroy us if we're not careful, and we can destroy each other just by our conflicts.
Have you had Paulo Guzzardi on?
No, I'm not familiar with who that is.
Write that name
sorry,
down.
I'm kind of striking zero on all these things you're asking me.
Write that name down. He's an Italian, and he's just now starting to do some stuff in English. Him and one of his colleagues wrote this this pamphlet. It was more like a map of evolution of alien civilizations, or really all civilizations, and the things that they need to do to evolve. And they have to do all of these things. They have to evolve technologically, like you said, but they can't, if they do the technology without evolving morally or socially, politically, then they destroy themselves.
That's
so
right.
that you have to, all of that stuff has to rise together. And so he uses different civilizations, even just for an example, he'll use like the movie Avatar with the blue beings or whatever. He would say, where they were, and then where the people of Earth were, because their technology had gotten really high, but their moral standards were very low. But he talks about this ascension process of a civilization. I had a great time talking to him. I was looking all of it as the ascension process of a soul, and a soul becoming a spirit, and that you have to evolve morally, spiritually, and there's levels. I had a really good talk with him. But whenever you mention that, like a civilization that's going to destroy itself, if your science outweighs your moral standard, your moral compass, you're going to use that technology. Now we can hurt more people. Like Trump has the ability to push the nuclear button, and it's like you would want a highly evolved, highly compassionate person. At least you would think. That was one of the things for me when I started to wake up into conspiracies and stuff. It's like I thought that the people that we would elect in office would have to be like good people. Like, I don't know, just in my mind, like your teachers, your principals, like everybody in power, I feel like, hey, these have to be good people. Nobody will elect a murderer. Nobody will elect a killer, but we do, and we did. We Trump, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Just go back and pull some of those quotes, right? But I remember when that facade was like, okay, these are bad people. These are selfish people. These are people who say one thing and do another, right? But anyway, check him out. He's got it, the map's really cool. It made for a really good discussion about us not destroying ourselves. Hopefully we make it through the bottleneck, like you just said.
Well, yes, we're going to be in touch through email because I want to get in touch. I decided also that I'm going to be doing on my YouTube channel. I have a good number of followers there that I'm going to be doing some other shows. I just kind of decided actually within the last 24 hours that I'm going to start doing some other shows. I used to do that before I got too busy, but if I stick to just YouTube and not a radio station where I have to do it at any particular time, I can do it anytime I want. I'm going to start doing shows like you're talking about with guests like that, just to bring up, these interesting conversations.
Well, it's specifically about UFOs though. So he is an ufologist, essentially. Yeah. So he does tie it in. I'm tying it in spiritually. He's telling me all this stuff about, interstellar travel and cosmic travel and stuff like that, just about aliens, and he'll pull different alien races from whether it's mythology or races that people have come out and said that really exist that we've been in contact with. It's debatable, it's controversial, but I guess he needed to have an example of these entities that are highly evolved spiritually and with technology and politically versus the other way around. But no, it was a good talk. I did, if you want to check my show out with them first, but I do think that it fits with the whole ufology conversation. So
yeah. No, I agree with that statement. It all has to rise at the same time. If there's an imbalance, then if the imbalance is where the technology speeds faster than our willingness to be civil, then unfortunately money, as I say, the root of all evil, unfortunately money is such a force that it really can overshadow good deeds, and you look at, I know we're talking about UFOs, but you look at like climate change, for instance. We could be screwing ourselves. It's undeniable, but I don't know if we can even stop what's in play right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure if we can or not, but it seems like at this point in our evolution, we'd have technology enough to stop ourselves from this all happening. Like, I don't know, putting something up in the atmosphere, but everything has a consequence. No matter everything, for every action, there's a reaction. So, there's so many things to consider. Yeah.
I always thought, I lived on the Gulf Coast, and when it comes to like hurricanes, that was one of my biggest fears. Honestly, aliens, UFOs were a big fear as a kid, but also storms, because we got it was terrifying. It still is. I'm like, shouldn't we have the technology to, as a kid, in a kid's mind, put up a giant fan that just blow that thing away or dissipate it? Yeah. There's cloud seeding. There's a lot of, or put up a wall that it can't pass through. Push a button and it raises to block it so it doesn't destroy the freaking coast, But like you said, it's part of that nature, it could be a response to nature, or we would say a response from God, of God's judgment is what the ancients believed, Yeah.
Well, yeah. Nature is such a force. We have no way to, think of the force of water, what water can do, and wind, and, it's really but the categories of the storms are getting stronger, and we're going to see so much devastation. It's financially, it's a killer, and I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. Yeah. Which is kind of I wish I could be more optimistic about it, but I can't.
Yeah. Like you said, and I say, I hope we make it through the bottleneck. I think that they're rooting for us, whatever it is out there. I think that they've been here a lot longer than we have, whether we're an experiment, whether they are our creators, whatever theory you want to go with. I do believe they've been here since we were primitive and learning about fire, and they've been watching our evolution process. So I do think that we see them every now and then, and they are in, whether they're hiding underwater, whether they're in caves, whether they're cloaked in the sky, probably all of that, honestly. But I think that they're rooting for us. I think that we have to choose to evolve. We have to choose love. We have to choose to help each other versus choosing to kill and greed and pillage and all of those things. Which obviously, you say it seems like it's getting worse and things like that. And a lot of people feel that way and where we're headed and what we're going through. But those are part of birth pangs. Like, you got to deal with it. Those wars and rumors of wars that you got to pass through. There's a war because there's a wrestling of sides. There's a wrestling of, should we do this or should we do that? Well, half of us want this, the other half want that. And in the end, I think it's majority wins. But if we look at the elite and the government, all this crazy stuff that's happening, like, that's supposed to be the 1% is a small percent. I think that there's a spiritual awakening that's happening across the globe where the majority of people are learning from their mistakes. And if enough people do that individually, then we do that as a collective. And so we all rise. What we see on television and what the decisions that, those guys make for us, we really don't have any choice over. So we would hope that, the majority would choose love or choose to evolve or choose acceptance and those things. And, we look at civil wars and stuff, like, it's kind of, it's a veil that you got to pass through. Like, on the other side of this turmoil, who wins, good or evil? Well, that's, I guess, determined in the war and the majority and the technology and all of those things. I mean, when we look at slavery, just for instance, like, my generation, I can't even fathom it. I can't fathom it. And I'm not that far removed from it. But, think about my daughter. There's no concept that you owned people and treated them any way you wanted to. And it was like normal. Like, this was normal. You weren't looked at as a bad person or a savage to have a human being tied up, chained up, and let them free to work so many hours and feed them pig guts. Feed them the parts of the pig that you don't eat. And I know that wasn't across the board, every slave. I know there's people treated them differently, but that's not normal anymore. Like, that was normal. Now it's an atrocity. And there was a civil war that the people had to come through and fight and decide, and what's right, who wins, and then boom, here we are. Okay, we're not doing that anymore. Now most of us like, yeah, that's not good. Like, we've learned from our mistakes as a primitive warring people. So women's rights, animal rights now. Hey man, what we're doing to animals isn't cool. Oh, you can eat them. They don't have feelings or emotions. No, let's talk about it. Let's war. Bah, 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 bah. And hopefully, however long that takes, 20 years, 40 years, 100 years, 2 years, I don't know. But hopefully we get to make the decision as the collective consciousness chooses good. And I think that's how we make it through that bottleneck,
Well, the slavery, modern slavery, which I call modern slavery, 400 years old, kind of dissolved itself globally, like you said, like a collectively, sort of at the same time in the 1850s through 1860s, things like that. Then there's the early slavery, which is, as long as man has been here, there's been slavery throughout. I mean, just in Pompeii recently, they uncovered slave beds and, a slave chamber. It was something that a human has done. I interviewed Dan Carlin, a great podcast.
Yeah, he's good.
He has a show called Hardcore History, and he did a show on slavery. And he said, all of us have slave blood coursing through our veins in one way or another, either as a slave owner or as a slave. Yeah. We have that in our history, all of us. And which is fascinating to think about. But, he said that maybe slavery began as a human, what am I trying to say? Humanitarian move, instead of killing people out on the warplane during a combat, to instead say, hey, I'll give you your life, but you're going to have to work for me. That, in a nutshell, he was kind of thinking it was an ascension from killing someone to actually granting them life in slavery. And that's kind of how slavery started to evolve.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, and I'm glad people can't fathom it today. It's a horrible thing.
I would
And
say
it's still going on, by the way. It's still going on in different places and in the world where maybe it's not called slavery, it's called something else. But there's such severe oppression, and people are basically slaves in a lot of different ways.
Exactly. So you said that, which is where I think we're gonna head to in the future. We're making those strides now, and I think we are going through that bottleneck as far as using technology to work for us. And they say they're giving our jobs away from machines, like giving our jobs away to machines. Like, I'm sure that whatever evolved civilization, aliens, whoever, it would be good to have a machine to work for you. Whether it's like, hey, I need you to dig a ditch for 10 hours and I'm going to pay you $7.50. I know that sounds funny, but I totally started out working that way and I hated it. Did not want to be there. You can get a guy on a backhoe, pay him more, and he's out there less time. Or you can use technology, program the backhoe, and both of us can drink tea and watch the machine work because of our ingenuity that this thing works for us. Now I can do a podcast and talk to amazing people like Martin Willis and whoever, because our technology is working for itself. And I say that because I feel like a lot of that jobs are like indentured slavery, especially when you're doing something you don't want to do. Like if you love your vocation, if you love your career, that's different. But the people who are like flipping burgers just because they need to keep the lights on, like, hold on, we got infinite power that comes from the sun. Let's use that technology. Now, what do you want to do? Well, I really want to be a painter. You're a painter. Do it. Let's see what you can come up with. And you got 40 hours a week to paint. You can do that. I remember when that clicked for me as being a slave to the 9 to 5 and those hours. It's like, what if I had 40 hours to write a song or to do podcasts? What would happen if I spent 40 hours podcasting a week? Wow, I couldn't even fathom that as being a truck driver and somebody who dug ditches for 40 hours, And but I think that's where we're headed. I think that's a form of slavery. Anytime you're doing something that you don't want to do, and the technology's coming with us, it is coming with us. And so what are your thoughts on that? And I know there's birth pangs, there's so much to that, but what would you say to that?
Yeah, as far as like technology helping us have more freedom, that's definitely something. But you're right. It's a bell curve that is going to be painful because, as I mentioned earlier, for every action there's a reaction. So you're going to have, where do all these people fit in? That how can they be taken care of when they lose their job to a machine type of thing?
Yeah.
Eventually it's supposed to be a good thing overall, but when especially when it's a situation where it's a really difficult job, like digging a ditch, or look at the factories that, the automation in the car factories. There's a lot of things that they do that people could do. They do it more efficient, and a lot of those jobs are really hazardous. So, for instance, the welding or whatever it is that might be hazardous. So the pouring of the smelting and the casting and whatever it is, those are all done through robotics. But I don't know what happens to the balance of the people that are displaced by those jobs. Where do they go? Mm-hmm. What do they have to learn? Because we don't have the freedom. It would be nice if we all had the freedom, like, okay, you can stop what you're doing, the flipping of the burgers, and now you can, basically do what you want. And, but you have to create, you have to do something, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there could be, if people are disciplined enough that we can have that. And, who's going to flip the burgers? When it comes to things that robotics can't do, we need those people too. And we have seen, this COVID's really wakened that whole job, has turned it upside down in a lot of ways. I go to a lot of restaurants that are closed because they can't find people. The employment is really good right now, but still there's a lot of people looking for,
because they don't want to go back to work for what they were making, And I think that kind of gets into a little bit of, universal basic income, which a lot of people, believe in and want to do that. And they've kind of tested it with stimulus checks, and we got used to those. We want more.
Yeah.
We want more. Can we get another, right? There could be that. And there's countries that's their thing, universal basic income. And, when it comes.
Unfortunately,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, capitalistic society only works with imbalance. So you talked about like the elites, and with the imbalance, the striving to go get ahead, which I believe in, but also there's I don't know how that all can work out, and it's really difficult, because also the capitalists,
I think it's got to be destroyed.
We're bound to have these crashes. They're just historically, look at all the history of this. We're bound to go into another major crash as we've gone into. It's just part of our history, and that's what capitalist society does. Breed that. I mean, it's all part of it.
Well, let's look at, and I hate to project, but let's look at Stephen Greer. There's that's perfect form of capitalism. Started out passionate, doing with it, but hey, to keep the lights on, I got to embellish, man. I got to teach you how to get on a ship by closing your eyes and listening to my app, buying my app. It's not free. You got to buy it. It's only 99 cents, but if I can get 1 million of you guys to pay 99 cents. See, that was the whole thing with capitalism that I don't like, because even though you start out good, or you got to make products that break, product obsolescence or planned obsolescence, where I can sell you, TruthSeekah, I can sell you a straight razor that you sharpen every day. Every time you use it, you got to sharpen it, and you can keep cutting your beard. Or I can sell you a Bic razor, and you got to keep buying them. I need you to keep coming back buying them, because you're going to run out. They get dull. You can't sharpen these. You just want to throw them out the way. They're disposable, but they're only $5. Now I've got you hooked on this $5 thing because of capitalism. It's like, let's get back to the straight razor.
Yeah. Look at the cars, for instance. When cars first started out, they were basically built to permanently last and not even rust.
Yeah.
And they started realizing, they weren't selling new cars. So let's fix that.
Yep.
And, back when I was, years and years ago, I hate to say it, when I was in high school, we did a project when the cars at that time, this is kind of embarrassing. I will say I'm 65 years old. So when I was back in high school, in the 70s, what we did was, I thought it was a great project. We took a car. At the time, the car cost $2,500 brand new, believe it or not. And then we parted it out, and it was $25,000.
Wow.
So you want those parts to break. You want, it's a whole business in itself. You want the car to break down. You want the car not to last. So you have to buy a new car. Look how our iPhones and computers become, obsolete so quickly. I know this is way off the UFO subject, but I
think it's tied in. I do think it is, as far as where we're going. How can we make contact? Well, we can't make contact if, like, the real CE5, like, if we want to kill them, like, I think they know that. I think they know we're hostile. I think they know that if we get somebody's gonna get a gun and shoot at it, if it stays there, probably our government. So yeah, we have to evolve. We have to get to the next level, and it's these little bitty things that I think that they have evolved. I do believe that. I believe that they are evolved in spiritually, ethically, morally. I think that there's a code of conduct in the stars. I'll say that, and we're not welcome there. We're not welcome there. They have to keep us contained, because we're warring with ourselves. So damn right, we're going to war with them.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, you look at the 20th century alone. You think we evolved, but the 20th century, we were more brutal. There was more brutality in the 20th century than any other century in history. We killed more people, and we are very tribal. We're very aggressive, and unfortunately, we're tribal over a lot of resources. We're tribal over race. We're tribal over borders, and we're not a global friendly place.
Who is we though? Is that the majority? Is that the 1%? Is that the evolution? Because Like
I'm saying society, look at how we all are on this
majority.
planet. We're tribal. Yeah.
Majority.
I mean, I'm just saying, look, we have borders. We protect those borders from each other. It's a person on the other side of the border. Why do we kill them if they want to, they want to move the border. They want to look at Russia trying to go in to Belarus or wherever it is they're trying to go into now. Yeah. But I mean, it's just really, we're aggressively always after each other. And, why do we have 25,000 nuclear warheads, aiming at each other, that type of thing. It's pretty scary.
Do you think that maybe the Universal Council, right? That there would be in space, you would say, like there's a global council. What would you call it on Earth? I'm missing the name. The UN is a way to kind of bring this stuff together and say, hey man, let's talk about this stuff before, we get into fighting and arguing and war and that kind of thing,
Yeah, I think
so the UN that was healthy steps, I will say, to people who haven't evolved spiritually or morally. They're still those people,
Yeah. No, I think the UN is a great thing. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it was developed but I do also believe that globally we're kind of getting a lot of sort of oppressive leaders that it seems to be kind of evolving into that, look at what Russia is and Brazil and, there's a number of places where, I think we're heading in the wrong direction. So, like you said, hopefully we'll vote in the right people, but try to vote out Putin, see what happens. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So, or, someone that opposes him, they're going to die.
Yeah.
They're going to die by poison or somehow.
The UNs, what I'm saying, Kim Jong and those guys, like, they got some really interesting. Yeah, we're very like, and there's an example of the technology. I think they're leading in technology, but some of the political and some of the moral stuff is very, very strange. If somebody dies or somebody in power dies or they're going through or something bad happens, you have to mourn. You have to publicly mourn. Like it's like they have you can see videos of them like faking crying, like weeping for the leader who died, and they're like, if we catch you showing that you're happy that this guy is not in office or whatever or dead, like we're gonna kill you. No, and there's like all this fake, lamenting and stuff, and that's very, very, very strange. But Martin, man, I've enjoyed this discussion. Before we go, man, give me your top 3 favorite episodes.
Oh, okay. Before I do that, I just want to make a correction.
Okay.
We have 13,890 nuclear warheads. So not 25,000.
Well, we haven't pushed them yet, though.
Yeah, that's right. I hope that never happens.
Push the reset button.
And I think it's interesting that, they've been disrupted by UFOs a few times.
Hey, but there's the good or the evil. I think it's good. I think they're saying, hey, man, not yet, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
We got to help you guys. Other people will say they're a threat. They're taking our technology, so we can't fight them. So we can't, No, I don't believe ways to look at that.
I think, as Stan Friedman used to say, look, the kids found the matches, so wake them up, But okay, so my top episodes, I would say I had a few people on about the Ariel school encounter.
Oh, yeah.
And that happened in 1994 with 65. There were more, actually, but 65 known school children had this amazing encounter with beings and all that, which is really bizarre. And
in Africa, right?
Yeah, that was South Africa and Zimbabwe. And that is, to me, is the most compelling. I also, I love stories that are the less known that all of a sudden I hear about. And so I had a guest on recently. Her name was Deb. She contacted me, had an incredible schoolyard encounter also, and talked about that. So that's an unknown case that I absolutely love. So that's a really good episode. Some of my favorite people that I've had on the show are people like David Marler. There's so many of them. I don't want to leave any of the
It's
really
hard.
good ones out. So I probably won't go there, but there's some really great people out there that are looking into this topic. And but I would say to the person watching this, if you're going to try to find your information on YouTube, be careful. There's a lot of hoax videos and a lot of video channels you want to stay away from.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So-
hard. It is hard. That's why you got to do your own investigation, your own work, you know.
Yeah.
Did you ever interview Melissa Peabody before she passed?
No,
Melissa
that sounds very
Peabody.
familiar though.
I had a really good talk with her, and she recently passed about a year ago. But that was one like these smaller name people that
Yep.
end up being really good shows. Those are the gems,
Yes.
right?
That's right. Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Martin, I really appreciate you coming on, hanging out with me, let me pick your brain and converse with me. Let people know where they can check out your podcast, check out your work, and you know get more of your thoughts and interviews.
All right, great. So my website's podcastufo.com. And by the way, if you wanted to find out, I have a mailing list that goes out once a week, a little newsletter. So right on the sidebar, you can put your email in there and you can get announcements. But also my YouTube channel is basically Martin Willis Live Shows. And that's on YouTube, and you can subscribe over there. I'm going to probably be putting other shows up there as well. So that's basically it. My shows are Tuesday at 6 to 8 p.m. That's Eastern time every Tuesday.
Awesome. I'm subscribed. Guys, make sure you go subscribe to his channel as well. Again, brother, enjoyed this conversation, and anytime
Yes,
you
me
want to
too.
do it again, let's make it happen.
All right. Great to talk to you.
All right, brother. Have a good
All
one.
right.
Many blessings.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Martin Willis, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys go check him out. Check out his work. Good talk, man. Got level-headed. And see, that's the thing that we always talk about is that a lot of people, I love talking to other podcasters and other people who do interviews because you think that they've come to a realization, or they got some information or something to share. Okay, you've talked to 450 people about UFOs. What's happening? You should learn. I got more questions, man. I got more questions than I started with. And that's what most of us say. You know, whether it's UFOs, spirituality, religion. You know, a lot of people start off like thinking that they're experts. I did with religion. I'm talking about out the gate. Out the gate. Most of us do. We're taught. We're zealots. You got the truth, man. Tell everybody. You got to convert them. And then it's like the more study that you do with an open heart and with an open mind, you're like, oh wow. I was conceited. I was prideful. I thought I knew, and I was proved wrong because I met these other people that showed me contrary to what I believed. I read another portion of scripture that didn't line up with what I believed at some point. You know, there's these things, but you got to be open for rebuke. You got to be open to repent. Repent's to have a change of mind, a change of heart, change the way that you think. And so it is about that evolution. But those people who are just stuck on this one thing, even if they see information that's contrary to what they believe, that is truth, that outweighs them, because they've invested so much time, because they've told so many people, they refuse to renege. They refuse to admit that they were wrong in those kind of things. And so that's one thing that we have to be careful of. We have to be open for change. And that's how we evolve, to learn from your mistakes, to learn from your wrongdoings. And so just admit when you had it wrong, admit when you messed up, and be open to see that. And with someone, again, like these podcasts and these interviews and these talks show you that, like, wow. I mean, I'm pretty sure that just like myself and, Martin coming into this, you come in with thinking one thing, but then you leave with another and having more questions, because there's more sides to the story. And that's the thing. There's more sides to it. And you can only see one side, only one point of view. one standpoint, the point that you're standing looking at the same object. But I think it's amazing that we're looking at a lot of the same things, but we see something different. It means something different with people. And to really explore that, I think it's so fun. It's a form of psychology for me. It's like, I can have this talk with Martin, right? But obviously with our friends and people who believe in flat earth, like there's only so far that conversation can go, because when it comes to ufology in the flat earth, or planets or star systems or infinite space, they don't believe that. They think that the edge of this existence is a dome, and so there's no such thing as space. So aliens can't travel here from outer space, or angels, or whatever they are. They would tell you that they were interdimensional beings, mostly demonic. For some reason, that's the census that the flat earthers take to, because they think that stars are fake, that, you hear so much different stuff, that they're maybe a projection, or they're lights that were put up by either people or God, or whatever the case. And so there's one thing that changes everything. Yeah, that can't happen. Or we talk about UFOs or aliens, and when I say that, because of their study, because of their background, they hear demons. And so their mind's made up, because there's cognitive dissonance. No, I'm not talking about demons. I'm talking about aliens. Same thing, bro. Same thing. No, they're aliens are aliens, and demons are demons. Demons aren't aliens. They're different. Nope, it's all demons, bro. The Bible says it. My pastor said it. So and so said it. And just to see the things, like, because of our belief and because of what we've studied, and the evolution of that belief. The evolution of that belief is beautiful. Or the that taking a step backward of someone who was good and they ended up being bad. I like the other story. I like the, because that's my story. I would say is I started off bad, or started off in the darkness and kind of have come to the light. But there are people who started off in the light and they turn to darkness. I guess such is the story or allegory of the Lucifer being in the Bible, or the planet Venus, that starts out as bright and shining star, but then falls from heaven or chooses evil. I mean, that's the whole deal with a fallen angel. They rejected that beauty of once they first had, and then they wanted something else, that they had to choose wickedness, they had to choose evil, and they did it either enough times or one time, and then now they're mostly this. They're mostly evil or mostly good. I think there's people like that, man. I think everybody has a spark of light within them. Everybody has that infinite potential. But what you feed is what grows. The animals that you feed are what sticks around. The beings that you feed. If you have food that demons eat, they're going to hang out. They're going to come eat. If you have a table that the angels eat from, the angels are going to hang around you. If you have drugs that drug addicts like, they're going to show up. They're going to hang around you. Flies hang around garbage. They come to dead things. They visit that stuff. Stray dogs will eat the food that you throw out your window. What are you feeding them? That's why it says that some demons only come out through prayer and fasting. You got to fast some of this stuff out. You got to quit inviting it. You got to, it'll go somewhere else. Submit yourselves to God. Resist the devil and he will flee. Whatever that temptation is, the part of you that you don't like about yourself, stop feeding it. The definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. You're insane. You know, this and this and this combination only gets me this. And listen, maybe you want to try it a couple times. Cool. That's how you learn. You'd be silly just to do that one time and be like, okay, yeah, every time I do it, this happens. And to do it once, but to do it twice, 3 times, to learn from your mistakes. But then a wise person would learn from the mistakes of others. No, I've seen it happen to them, so I don't want to do it. But again, according to the light and according to intention, we can do the same thing and get different results because there's different intentions behind it. We use the analogy of an enlightened person or somebody who's just more good than evil. There's more good in them than there is evil. And, Wilcock does have the analogy of the 51%. We just need to be 51% good for us to evolve. I think there's some credence to that. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. To the hammer, everything is a nail. I love that analogy of the hammer. Tying it with scripture, like Jesus was a carpenter. Like what happens when you give Jesus a hammer, who's a carpenter? And he builds with it. He creates, he builds. Infinite potential. We can make a chair. We can make a table. We can build a house. What happens if you give a murderer a hammer? I can kill someone with this. This can defend me. This can do. There's infinite potential. But it's intention. How do you use it? We all have 24 hours in a day. That's infinite potential, or that's 24 hours of potential, which has infinite potential. What do you do? What do you do with your 24 hours? We all have temptation. Everyone. We all have thoughts. What do you do with it? Do you follow that thought? Do you take it into captivity? Take every thought into captivity, into the obedience of Christ, obedience of that which is good for your greater good, not just for yourself, but for humanity. So that's big too. Like, what's good for me may not be good for everyone else. So let me not choose selfishness. Let me choose what's going to give delayed gratification, that in the end, these decisions will come back to serve me or come back to haunt me. We all have that. We all have that. 24 hours, there's hammers laying around. There's people drop money every day. What do? Look at God, I got me a blessing. And you see the person walking off and they drop $40. Look at that. Put it in my wallet. Or you say, hey, sir, you dropped the $20. You dropped $40. Oh, thank you. It was actually a test. We're filming you. There's a camera there. There's a camera there. You're on What Would You Do? Oh, what? We wanted to see what you would do. I want to let you know, most of the people put it in their pocket and walked off. But you, young man, you brought it back to me. I'm going to reward you with $1,000. That totally happens. People find wallets on the ground that have money in it and they turn it in. And none of the money's taken out. And when they contact the person who lost their wallet, they give all the money to the person. Hey man, because you turned this in and didn't steal it, I'm giving you the money. All I wanted was my ID. I just wanted my ID back. I mean, if any of us have had something stolen from them, especially a wallet, you're like, man, I just need my social security card and my ID, man. Like, 'cause that's a process to get back. You can keep the money. Just let me get my stuff, man. Let me get my wedding ring. Like, you can keep the money, but everything is about choices. Everybody got choices. That's a cool song. Choices by E40. Everybody got choices. What you do with those choices determine the type of person that you are, determine the type of friends that you have. Like, listen, I got friends who I don't even want to go there, but the people that you have around, the food that you're feeding them, if you don't feed them, they're not coming around. They're not coming around. They're going to find someone else to hang out with. They're going to move on to another scene. They're going to they're only there because you mooch off of them, or because they mooch off of you, or even if it's like physically or drugs or energetically, you help them. There's a match there. There's a match. Even if it's a debate, which seems like it doesn't match, but no, you're a healthy debate. You're a healthy person for them to practice on. You're a healthy person for them to feel like they're better than you because they don't believe like you, or because their marriage is better than you, right? So instead of pulling people down, I think the goal and the name of the game is to pull people up. We used to do this this little experiment in youth group and in church, and it was talking about like having, you know, friends that aren't going to pull you down. And they'll say it's easier to pull somebody down than it is to pull them up to your level, and it's true. It is easier. There's less resistance. There's gravity, like it's real. And so we did this experiment where they put a chair in the middle of the floor and one person would stand on the chair. And then they would reach down to a person standing on the floor and they say, okay, you try to pull the person up to your level. And they can't pick them up. This is a human. And okay, now you try to pull that person down. And they got each other's hands, and literally one yank, you lose your balance, the person falls. It's easier to pull people down than it is to lift them up. But I tell you that the reward is greater. The reward is greater. What does the Bible say about those who restore a brother, those who restore a sister? Like, great is your reward in heaven. Because you instead of passing by, instead of gossiping, instead of, hey, you deserve what happened to you. In a sense, they do. Like universal law, you get what you put in. Like, but you know what? I'm going to help you because you haven't had anybody to help you. I'm going to take time with you. I'm going to be a little bit extra. I'm going to show you a little bit of compassion and go out of my way to help you just a little bit. So we all can do that. Do what you can to help people. I believe in evolution. I believe that we're headed to, as a civilization, as a people, we are headed to some really cool times, but we got to get through the bottleneck, as Martin says. God, please help us get through the bottleneck. I want to get through the bottleneck. Like personally, I want to be around a lot longer than all of these weird things that are happening in society, in the world. Like I want to make it through this weird stuff, like make it through as far as with my life and with my sanity and with my family and with my friends. You know, I want to be here. I have hope in humanity and where we're going. And I think that whatever is happening that is bad, or even it seems like on a larger scale, I think that's the 1%. It's not just 1%. Okay, 7%, 12%. If it's less than 50, I think we're good. And I believe it is. I believe that's why awakening is happening. I think that that's why there's pushback from the cabal, from the darkness, is because people are evolving. So they're having to turn the heat up. Somebody mentioned Bitcoin and taking our power back. For sure. For sure. Put your money where your mouth is. Invest in what you believe in. If you start taking the money away, then that thing doesn't exist because you're not funding it. If you take the attention away, it doesn't exist. If nobody watches Netflix, they go bankrupt. It may take a lot of people. It may take a long time because they're sitting on money that they can coast for a while. But listen, give it time, give it time, give it time. Don't be, again, that's something like that would be delayed gratification. It may not be instant. I know it happened with, you guys remember the Cuties thing that came out with Netflix. Most of us canceled our Netflix account. Some people started Netflix accounts because of that movie. Disgusting. Me and many of my friends deleted it, but it was only a month, and then we restarted it. So they didn't even feel that. They may have. I mean, their stocks dropped. They felt it, but they're giants. So it takes a lot. You know, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. It takes a little bit longer. You know, that thing that you've been dealing with your whole life. Listen, it takes a little bit longer. It ain't just one prayer from a pastor. It ain't just one fasting. It ain't just one, I'm never going to do this again. Maybe it takes 17 of those, 47 of those, 1,000 of those until you finally get it. You say, you know what? I'm stopping. I'm going to quit. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm hurting myself. I'm hurting my family. I'm hurting my friends. I'm hurting my business. I'm hurting my reputation. I'm hurting my body again. I kind of got on this little health journey and, seeing results, man. Seeing results. I kind of talk about this with a friend of mine. Like, how do you do it? 1,000 positive choices. 1,000 positive choices. Because again, give it more than like a day. That's how most of us are. We'll eat a salad for a day, or we'll fast, or we'll quit drinking water for a month. Man, you were drinking Cokes for 17 years. And you want to drink water for a month and think you're going to see something? You might, but like, you ate 1,000 huge chicken sandwiches and a Coke and fries and a biscuit. Eat 1,000 salads. Watch what happens. You're totally going to see a change. You didn't get here overnight with your health and your body weight, body mass. It took you a long time. It was 1,000 bad decisions, 1,000 candy bars. Obviously, you break that down. It was actually 50 candy bars, 40 cheeseburgers, 70 beers, right, over a period of time. And that's why, okay, well, let's combat it. The 70 hours of Netflix, let's at least combat it with 12 hours of walking. 4 hours, listen, anything's good. 1 hour of walking a day, a week. You know, they tell you to maintain your health, you should be active for at least an hour a day. And you say like normal people do that. Not everybody does that. Not everybody's active for an hour a day. We're creatures of habit. But once you tap into that, train your palate, man. Your food. There's a bag of chips. And there's a banana. Something happens if you choose. It's a timeline. It's a version of yourself that exists. 1,000 salads versus 1,000 Popeye's chicken sandwiches. 1,000 Cokes, 1,000 glasses of water. 1,000's a lot, man. That's 3 months. I don't know. How many times you eat? It's a couple hundred. 4 months, 6 months. If you want change, see it. There's a version, everything exists. You are the magician that wills it into existence. There's a version of you for everything. There's a version of you that exists with the beard or long dreadlocks. There's a version of you that's high and tight crew cut. How do you get it? You cut your hair or you don't cut it. There's a version of you that's happy with a family. How do you do it? You may have to get social. There's a version of you that's happily married. You may have to work through your stuff with your spouse you're in now. It may not be leaving your spouse. It may be working through the stuff you've already got to. The grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. Water your grass. Choose good. Choose life that you may live 1,000 times. Keep doing it. James says 1,000 wrong paths and many teeth. Yeah. 1,000 pieces of candy. 1,000 trips to the gym. And I'll say 1,000. Let's just say 100 because 1,000 seems like so far. It's scary. The number's too big. 100. You probably break it down to 50 and 10 dividends, denominations. I'm going to go to the gym 50 times and then I'll make an assessment versus going to the gym once. The cool thing is a lot of times you can go to the gym once and you can tell like the next day, oh man, look at that. I remember the first time I really worked out with somebody when I was young and there was like a new muscle on my arm. I was like, wow, look at that. A new muscle. I never seen that muscle. You know what I'm saying? It's like after one time. It's like, yeah, I got results. And it was an instant result, right? But to maintain it, to build it, to keep it, there has to be consistency. You got to be consistent with everything. Hopefully you're consistent with the good things and find out whatever it is that helps you be consistent. It could be a list. It could be a to-do list. That helps me. I pull up a notepad on my computer and I write my to-do stuff down. Because if not, I'll forget it. I'll do one thing and it just pulls my attention and I'll give it my all and then other things kind of evolve. Like, hold on, I wrote this down. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta get this assignment done. I gotta mix this song for that guy. I gotta write this verse. If you don't write the verse, it doesn't happen. The song doesn't happen. Yeah, but we're going to do this. Yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, it's not paying me. I don't get paid to write the verse. Yeah, I don't do it. Talk yourself out of it. There's a version of you that exists that has an album out, an artist. There's a version of you that does guided meditation. There's a version of you, whatever it is that I've created, it's consistency. And you keep it up. It's hard for many creatives. I've been talking about this. I've given you the example. There are no excuses. The light has come so that men would not sit in darkness and take your excuses away. That's why the light shows up. If we all sat in darkness, then you can't really make out what's happening. But the light shows up, and now men have no excuse. I can show you better than I can tell you. You can read what about this stuff, or you can experience it. That's the story of Jesus. Like they read in the Old Testament about how to be a good person, and they struggled with it. But when they finally had somebody who came that was perfection, who showed them how to do it, oh wow, this caught on. I'm with you, God. I believe in you, man. Greater things shall you do. It's like, oh wow, it is possible. All things are possible to him that believes. You got to convince yourself. You ain't got to convince nobody else. I learned that in Christianity, as a street preacher, as a Christian rapper. I had to convince you that my way was good, that my belief was right. I don't have to convince nobody. Guess who I have to convince? Myself. The Bible says I am fully persuaded. I am fully persuaded. Romans 4:21. Being fully persuaded that God had power to do what he had promised. I was fully persuaded. You couldn't talk me out of it. They'll try. That's where the devil comes in. That's where the ego comes in. That's where whatever word you want to put there. A lot of people don't like the word devil or Satan. The adversary, your thoughts, the egoic mind that says, don't do it, man. Well, you're not fully persuaded. You're halfly persuaded. Halfly. That's a word. I made it up. Only half persuaded. You are flirting with the idea that it could be a reality. Listen, that's part of the process. But then when you see it, oh no, I'm fully persuaded. Nothing you can say can take that away. Nothing you can say can take it away. That's being fully persuaded on everything. If you see the results. If not, it's faith. Faith turns into knowing. Knowing is fully persuaded. Faith is like, there's a hope. I hope that this is real. There's a possibility. No, I'm fully persuaded that this is what the deal is. This is what's happening. I'm fully persuaded. You can't talk me out of it because of my belief, because of what I've seen. I'm not dealing with your absolutes. I'm fully persuaded that this is the outcome, or these possibilities are the outcome. I think that even being fully persuaded is just being open to more options. It comes out of being an absolutist. Like I don't think that they have to go hand in hand. That being fully persuaded is like, nope, this is the only way. No, being fully persuaded is like, okay, yeah, I used to think that this was the only way. Now I'm fully persuaded that there's multiple ways. And now I'm fully persuaded that this isn't the only option. Because I come out of that this was the only way. I hope that makes sense for some of you guys. I hope that that this UFO talk hits home. I hope that it's something that you can do practically. Which is what? Make 1,000 good decisions. Make 50. Start with 10. Start with 10. Start with 1. It all starts with 1, really. But keep doing it. Don't eat a salad and be like, man, I think I lost some weight. Man, look, I'm in the best shape of my life. And this isn't even my final form. What's it take? What's it take? It takes different things for different people. I told my wife earlier, like, you know what it took for me? Seeing a picture of me at the creek swimming from the side. Somebody took it from the side, took a picture of me, and my belly's just big old belly. Beer, chicken sandwiches, cereal, sausage biscuits, chicken biscuits, whatever I wanted, because it tasted good. It was my animalistic nature to do what makes you feel good. Do what makes you feel good. And so it's like, oh, I know this makes me feel good now, but you know what's going to make me feel good later? Taking another picture from the side where that belly's erased. I've never been this thin. Never. It's awesome. It's a lifestyle. It's every day. Logan Paul taught me that. It's every day, bro. Or Jake Paul. They had a slogan. It's every day, bro. It's not one day. You got to go back to the gym. We don't live for instant gratification, but sometimes we can see instant results. Sometimes you tell a lie that comes back to bite you on the butt the same day. Sometimes you tell a lie that 6 months from now, hold on, you lied on your resume. Listen, we got to let you go. You told us that you worked at this job. We found out you were fired. You told us that you quit, but we found out that you were fired. We can't have you working for our company. First of all, you didn't tell us the truth. If you would have told us the truth, maybe we could have worked around it. But because you lied to us, we got to let you go. What, man? I really wanted this job. That's why I lied. Nope, got to go. The truth will set you free. Living in the light will set you free. Single-minded. Live in the light as he is in the light. Allow light to come into your life, man. Light is beautiful, y'all. This whole thing is about how much light can you bring into your body? How much light can you bring into your mind? How much light can you bring into your heart to get out the darkness? Get out the darkness. Listen, y'all. I got cameras in my house, right? I got cameras around my house, and there's been people who like, there's food left on the counter. Get-togethers, sleepovers, food's on the counter, and they're on the camera and they're looking around, and they make sure nobody's watching, and they start putting as much of the food in their mouth as they can, and they're looking out the window trying to hurry up. They pull out a bunch of pizza and they run to the bathroom and eat it. I'm like, oh, what? Because I go look at the pizza and it's gone. I'm like, what happened to the pizza? Pull the camera. Hidden cameras. They're not hidden. It's actually in display, but the person may not know. And I'll pull the camera like, damn, they sitting there eating all the cheese off the pizza. I looked at the pizza and it was missing, all the sausage was gone off of it. And it was for my daughter. My daughter was going to eat it the next day. We opened, looked at it. It's like, wow, where's all the sausage? You can see the little indentions. I bet you I know what happened. So-and-so. It was like, let's pull the camera. People do stuff when you think nobody's looking. I've done that for sure. Like young TruthSeekah has been at parties or been at like family get-togethers and nobody looks. I eat an extra slice of pizza or two and hurry up and eat it so nobody sees me. Oh, you a pig? You want 6 slices of pizza? Yeah, man. It makes me feel good. It tastes good. But then your belly's like, you're going to pay for it later. People do stuff when nobody's watching. What if you knew? If you knew you were being filmed, you wouldn't do that, right? Step into the mindset that you are being filmed. All of your deeds are being recorded. In the Lamb's Book of Life, in the Akashic Records, whatever your belief is, bro, I don't give a damn what your belief is. I care about the substance of your belief. Faith without works is dead. Your actions are the substance of what you truly believe. The Bible is clear on that. Don't tell me what you believe. Show me what you believe. I can show you better than I can tell you. I got street preacher friends or like they want me to be back out there preaching on the corner and stuff. Come back to the corner, TruthSeekah. You're called as a preacher. This is how it's supposed to be done. Man, look, I can show you better than I can tell you, because y'all, the stuff y'all preaching, y'all ain't even living yourself. Show me first. I got a bunch of friends who like sign up for MLMs over the years, multi-level marketing, even in the early days of it, like in the early 2000s. Hey man, I went to this seminar and the guy who's putting it on is freaking rich. He's got a Ferrari. He loves the Lord too. And we signed up for his program, and everyone who signs up under me, I'm going to keep making money, and you can make money too. And everybody who signs up under you. And it was the early days. And I got burnt early too, because in like 1999, we signed up for one. Me and my wife did. And it was fake. it was worded in such a way that it was like, oh, this is cool. And we found out it was a scam, and we lost $40. It was good that we only lost 40, because some of these other people at these seminars are losing 200, 1,000, 10,000, whatever. They're being scammed. And all of these friends would eventually come to me even after I've experienced that MLM on a small level, $40 level, stupid level. I'm glad I lost $40. At the time, $40 was a lot of money. But they want me to sign up. They want me to sign up for the MLM and to sell magazines or sell gift cards or whatever. Man, we could be rich. You could be rich. So and so. They're fully convinced, fully persuaded. And I had to hit them with this. I said, listen, show me your first check. Show me your first check, and I'll sign up. No, you got to sign up first. I will show you the check. I said, okay. I said, I'll sign up with bells and whistles. I'll tell everybody. But you got to show me that first paycheck. And I tell you that was the easy way to shut those people down, because there's a zeal that comes with it. This is the next wave, bro. We're going to sell CBD oil. We're going to sell essential oils. Well, how much do you have to pay? Well, you got to pay $100 a month. And everything you sell, we get a commission. But when you sign people up, how much do I have to pay? $100 a month. How much do people I have to, when I sign them up, how much they have to pay? $100 a month. Okay, so we're all signing. Who gets the $100? Well, the company. But I'll get $10 off of that. I'll get $10. You get $10 and they get 100 or 90. Listen, show me your first paycheck. Show me that check and I'll sign up. Your actions, your deeds. The proof is in the pudding. You can't fake that. That's the fruit. I judge it according to the fruit. Don't judge it because it's a mastermind plan. We're going to make quick money. Okay, well, you already messed up. Quick money. And none of them people stayed with that, and none of them guys ever got a paycheck, is what I'm saying. And most of those people who contact you on Facebook and stuff, you haven't talked to these people in years. Hey, how you been? I just want to see what you got going on. Man, I haven't talked to you since high school. Yeah, man, we've been doing good. Actually, we just got blessed. My family just got blessed. Oh, what happened? Well, I gave $1,000 to this company and we got this, but they're lying. They haven't got the results yet. I need to sign you up, man. Do you have time for a phone call? No, I'm good. Said all that to say, hopefully there's some wisdom in there for you to know what to tell those people when they try to ear beat you, talking, trying to convince you to be fully persuaded in something that they have no proof. Show me. The Christians, the Muslims. I want to tell you about Muhammad. Show me. I can look at your life and tell about Muhammad. Your life tells me everything about Muhammad. Oh, wow. Your life tells me everything about your Jesus. Remember, people say there's different Jesuses that are being preached or whatever. Well, let me hear about your Jesus that your church believes. Well, my Jesus is the only Jesus. Well, why are you more combative? Why did you leave your wife? Why do your kids hate you? But your Jesus is man, I don't want your Jesus. You keep that Jesus. That's not even Jesus. That's Jesus. That's the wrong one. I want this guy's Jesus. I want this guy. I want this Krishna. This Krishna looks better than your Jesus. How could you say that? Yeah, there's different Jesuses. Each church believes a different one. Really, each person has a different Jesus. Yeah, mine's capable. My Jesus is capable of different things, and yours is too. Or my Jesus is limited by certain things, and yours is too. You know, my aliens are limited to certain things, and yours is too. That's the light, the experience, the faith, the fully persuaded, the persuasion that you have. How much do you believe, or how much do you know? How much do you know? I've seen it. And not just seen it, but I've continued to see it. Seeing ain't believing when the eyes can be deceiving. Reveal to me the answers because I'm searching for the meaning. I think I made all of it up in the midst of my dreaming, in a trance-like state while kundalini breathing. Let each breath connect with the inhale. Let it out, then pause as we set sail. With the hands relaxed, prepare. Hold the Vayu mudra of air. With each voice, you should start feeling lighter. And your breathing seems a little louder. Pranayama, now we got you feeling higher. You can feel the Holy Spirit and the Kundalini fire. What you believe shows itself to you. Believe for more. See more. Great. Pff, we've leveled up. Believe for more. See more. Pff, we leveled up again. Believe for more. Fall on your butt. Pff, take a step back. It happens. Come out from under it. Pff, take another step. That's ascension, guys. Bring more light into your life. Bring it into your eyes, your ears, all of your gates. Peace be upon you. Light be upon you. That's how you evolve. That's how we evolve. If you evolve, we evolve. Just know that. It's not about you anymore. It was never about you. As if you were by yourself. You are part of the collective. Your thoughts, your vibrations, your beliefs, what is possible. You got to show people. And when you show them, then they realize it. I was thinking earlier, like, I be thinking about this a lot, like how much influence that I have. Not by saying it don't mean nothing. Don't mean nothing. Words are dead. Words are flattery. Flattering words lead to compromise. Your words carry no weight. Your actions do. Because this brother, but then when the two become one, when your words meet your intentions and how much you know it, you're fully persuaded. So now your words carry weight in the spirit. Your words carry weight in the spirit. And I say that to say that when your words carry weight, people take notice. Spirits take notice. I gotta do a teaching on this. I know I'm talking about this and it's essentially a teaching, but I need to do an in-depth Bible study, I guess. Let me know if you'd like that. If you're listening to this on the podcast, if you're listening to this on YouTube with us now or Facebook, wherever you are, email me. A Bible study. I've stayed away from Bible studies for years just because, like, I found favor with people just talking about these things instead of showing you biblically. But for many of us, seeing it in the scriptures is that representation that we can know it. Because most Christians and stuff will believe things if they see it in the Bible. And I think most people too, if they see it in the Bible or they read it, and especially the stuff that they didn't know was there. That's where I come in. I show you things you didn't know was there. But your words carry weight. Your words carry weight. Seeing success. Seeing the good. Being optimistic. Being hopeful. It helps. It helps people evolve. I can tell you all day, and I'm going to tell you, but I pray and I hope that my telling is from firsthand experience. And not to tear you down, but to build you up, because the world has already torn you down. So allow me to build you back up. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to project on you something that didn't work for me, a theory, a belief. It's got to work. Multiple times. It's got to work for other people. My life is an example. All of our lives are examples. Just know that. But I'm going to say what I've been thinking about, and it's just obvious. Like, I've shown a lot of people, right? I have a Patreon, right? And I started Patreon early, like 2015 maybe, and just a few years old of that, but you didn't really hear about it a lot. There was some YouTubers doing it and stuff, and I have to say, I've seen other people that were really successful, like the ones that I seen it, because it still wasn't big. But I know that people that I've interviewed have come on my show in 2015, 2017, 2018, 2021, 2020, right? They've come on here. And at the very beginning of the show, I got to thank my patrons who make this show possible. Listen, we're full-time. I've been an open book. We're full-time now. I'm not driving a truck anymore. I get to wake up and work on music. I get to coach people. I get to do sessions because there's people who partner with me and believe in what we're doing on Patreon. Thank you guys. There's music there. There's a hangout there. I'll answer your questions there. You get cool stuff there, right? I start my podcast off like that. I can name you probably 9 people, big name people who came on my show when they were smaller, and they seen my Patreon model. They seen my thing that, like, people want to support you, man. You just got to show them. You just got to give them an opportunity to. That's all this is. It's not about charging money or listen, people want to support you. How can we give? How can we help? I don't need no help, man. I'm good. I got this. Listen, I need help, bro. I can't do it by myself. I need a publicist. I need people emailing. I need finances on here. We need ad spend. We got to scale. We got to level. What we have is powerful. I can name you. I'm going to give you a couple off the bat. Just a couple big ones that have scaled it beyond me. Like my Patreon, right? It's not the biggest. I don't make a lot of money. It helps for sure. Every dollar freaking helps. Every donation, every super chat, it helps. But these people I would say have scaled it beyond me because they've taken it to like 17 levels past me or whatever. I'm gonna give you 2 right off the bat. Let's just think. 2. One would be belief in fatherhood. We did an interview when he was little. His channel was little. Let's just do this. I'm gonna share my screen for those of you who are watching. Overlay, share screen is where. Let's see. Oh, look at that. We're powered by Patreon. Come on, guys. This is an advertisement. You should become a patron. Or you should give people ways that they can help you. You have not because you asked not. You didn't put it out there. So I'm going to just show you a couple channels. So this is I guess this is just a browser here for me. This is my YouTube browser. So I'm going to go to Belief in Fatherhood. Listen, I interviewed him in 2017. He only had a few subscribers. He's got 664,000 subscribers. 664,000. I interviewed him. Really good talk. I had fun. So here's his channel, and then we'll go to like about. His Patreon used to be one of the biggest things that he promoted, but he's got so much coming in now. Let's see, belief in fatherhood. I'm going to paste this here, and then just type in Patreon. Boom. Patreon, BIF, belief in fatherhood. Really cool guy. Select the membership level. Here's his membership. So I guess he hides how many patrons he has now. Okay, 712 patrons. 712 patrons. His minimum is $5 a month. He's making a lot of money on Patreon because people believe in his work. I believe in his work. I love what this brother brings to the table. But when I interviewed him, he didn't have a Patreon. He's seen my model. Because guess what? After the interview we did, he starts a Patreon. Well, you wasn't the first one. I seen another guy. I don't care. You've seen it was done successfully, right? He's one who's a huge name, 600,000 subscribers. He's doing commercials. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's huge, man. Shout out to that brother. He's awesome. We did a video before he blew up. I'll say that. Shoot, my brother, I don't need to put everybody's business out there, but there's a lot of people who talk. A lot of people tell me, hey man, I seen you did it. It worked. And they scaled it. Like what they had was less fringe. They stuck to one niche. We talk about everything. Listen, we talk about aliens today. Tomorrow we're talking about how to bring Jesus into your heart. How to bring light into your heart. It's the end of this video. It just comes out of me. Listen, we talk about it all. So when you do that, you kind of fraction your listeners. You got to keep giving them the same thing. You got to keep talking about aliens. And it'll work out. You got to keep talking about Jesus. It'll work out. But when we have a podcast like this, which is a conglomeration of a bunch of different topics, you kind of marginalize subscribers because they subscribed for alien talk. They didn't subscribe for Jesus in your heart. So belief in fatherhood's one of them. Then we got Larry D. Reed. I interviewed him early on. He already had a good following and stuff, and he had they already had a following, but they wasn't using Patreon. So Larry D. Reed, Patreon, this joker, he's only got one level, $12 a month. Let's see if there's a number of how many patrons he has. I don't see. I think he hit it because, like I said, you can hide it. But I will tell you this: his Patreon is he makes so much money off of this $12 seed, because he reaches a lot of people, that he did an event in Atlanta with his Patreon money. He rented a conference room, through an event, and these $12 supporters, you may have had to be with him a certain amount of time, I'm not sure, but he bought them all tickets and plane rides to the event. All of his patrons. Like, it reached that level of there's so much coming in that there's more that you can do. Wouldn't that be awesome to be able to throw an event and not like, because when I throw an event in Alabama, it doesn't do good. They want to run me out of Alabama. But what if we threw an event in Alabama and flew everybody in? That's Patreon. Listen, limitless possibilities. It's only limited by what you believe. And then he probably got to write that off on taxes too. That wasn't, so it worked out for everybody. So what I say, and there's so many more. This dude's got a lot of patrons. This dude is legit. He's a good dude. I had a fun podcast with him early on. But he did this show with me, and I did my Patreon, and you can see him taking notes. Check that Patreon out. And then they go do it. Trust, dude, it's been so many more people. So many more people who see that model and say, okay, this can work. This little weird guy, talking about aliens and Kundalini, like, yeah, he's got 100 patrons. We can totally get 1,000 patrons, like, in the first week. Dude's... my homie Devion, which is friends with Larry D. Larry D flew Devion out to Atlanta for the event. And you guys know Devion, amazing podcast, really changed my view on a lot of stuff, especially with homosexuality and the Bible and stuff like that. Talking to Devion, it was an amazing talk. I love that brother. So he has his own little show, and he started a Patreon, and that joker scaled. He's got a huge audience, and he was just like, because he would go live and he would say, if y'all believe in the work, cash at me. This is my cash app. Send me the little money. And that's my Devion impersonation. Cash at me the money. You can send it via my cash app. That's a long process. Got to figure out the name, type it in, blah, blah, blah. And that's a one-time donation. But it's like, hold on. I said, bro, they got people who want to support you monthly, man. Like, I think I even told him. And he started it, and he's like, scaled it out of nowhere. It was like a no-brainer. I mean, making good money. I said, bro, least you could do is buy a better camera, bro. But like, I love to see that. I love to be an example of what works, because you can be an example that benefit people, showing them what works, or you can be an example of like, hey, don't do that. Just don't do what that dude's doing. See what happened to him. There's an antagonist. There's somebody who chose evil too many times. As somebody who was given the opportunity but didn't take it. They got so many inner conflicts and personal beliefs, and money is evil. Money's the root of all evil. I'll get corrupted. Listen, people do get corrupted. It does happen. You're going to be an example of evolution or de-evolution, taking a step back. And hopefully you look at your life and make that assessment. Hopefully you'll look at people that you know and make an assessment. Now, don't judge the person. Judge what they're doing. Don't judge the person. People need help. We got to get on their level. We got to help them. Nobody's helped them. Nobody's showed them. Bill, I'm showing you, man. Like, listen, you can go to my journey. I'll talk about the stuff in my head. I'm talking about right now. Like what makes you successful, man. I'm super blessed. I don't need nothing. I don't even need no more patrons. We're good. Like, I'm good. So it's a definite need of begging. Hey, start Patreon. Listen, if you want me to throw an event and host an event and fly you out, listen, yeah, become a patron for sure. We're doing it. Like, there's limitless possibilities. People want to support. Give them. You know, if you're an evil dude, you're gonna use that money for evil. I know pastors who preach sermons and take the money and go smoke crack. Straight up with you. Straight up. They go preach a sermon. They get a donation, $200, $400, and they leave the sermon and go smoke crack. Does that mean he's a bad person? No. It means he's struggling. He's addicted. So, because people are insane, does that mean they're bad people? No. They just haven't seen an example. Living in a realm of psychosis. They haven't seen a sane person. In the world of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Somebody who has a little bit more insight, a little bit more light in their life. This has to work. This is universal law. Universal principles. There's no reason why it works for me and it doesn't work for you. Yeah, but you're this. No, I ain't nothing. I'm nothing. Nobody. Nobody gave me a chance. Yes, they. Nope. Nope. They didn't invite me to their table. They actually asked me to leave. They asked me to leave their table. So guess what? I built my own table. I built my own table. And I built my own chairs. Now I get to invite people to come sit at the table with me. It is what it is. Thrice Great says, are you doing another workshop where you teach people the stuff you know, video editing, podcast, music, etc.? So I just got done with the Path of the Healer, which we kind of, it's an overview of getting started with a lot of that stuff, using your gifts and stuff like that. People book one-on-ones with me to teach them or to help them get started. So I do that. But as far as a group session or anything right now, I don't have anything that I'm going to launch. I do want to do another channel or something where I just like can give you some of the techie stuff, because people didn't subscribe for the techie stuff. They subscribed for the alien stuff, right? So if you do another channel and I'm giving you, even with that, you should learn what I'm telling you right now. Don't mix your content on YouTube or your website. Give it a different name. Give it a different name. That's huge with branding. Branding is key. And there's benefits to it, especially now with the algorithms. If everybody who subscribed and clicked the like on this UFO episode were people who liked UFO stuff, this channel would blow up for sure. But because of the algorithms, because of TruthSeekah could be lying, because he's going live again, but this live stream only has 7 people watching. You gotta niche down. I got a good friend of mine. He's super successful right now. Dan, and he niches down. He got 2 topics: demons and the Holy Spirit. Now you can niche that. You can break it down a little bit. Because in demons, they're like, what kind of demon? Well, a Jezebel demon. Oh, wow. There's a succubus demon. Oh, wow. Holy Spirit outpouring, baptism. You can't venture out. He can't do a video on how to make money podcasting. Even though it's near and dear to your heart, even though you want to share it, your niche says no. Your subscribers say no. I'm not watching it, Dan. I'm not watching it, TruthSeekah. So that was what I would say on video editing and podcasting. That's just a free tip. Most, you could watch a lot of that for free on YouTube. They'll tell you that. A lot of YouTube dudes, why they're successful, they'll say, hey, start a new channel. Start a new channel. So with my stuff, I mix everything on this channel. So it's always going to be fluctuating up and down. Well, I only want music. I don't like the way you talk. I don't like your guest. I don't like you talking to those witches. I don't like you talking to alien guys. I only want you to talk to Christians. And that's why I subscribe. Okay, well. But if you had a channel that was only witches or only Christians or only music, then what they see is what they get. You can't switch it up on people. I learned that early on, really. I say I learned it. If I'm not applying it, I guess it's not learned. But when I started doing video game, I started live streaming me playing video games on my YouTube, and they subscribe for Jordan Maxwell interviews. Doesn't really. It's not conducive. It doesn't work together. So anyway, I love this stuff. I've had to learn it myself. And I know that as I teach and as I share, and I'm an open book, we all take a step up. A rising tide raises all of the ships. There ain't no reason why I should be up above everybody looking down. No, we work together. I need you to learn because I need to ask you some stuff. Oh yeah, this didn't work. This didn't work. Well, I have trouble promoting. I need you to help me promote. Oh, I don't know how to promote. Oh, well, I got to find somebody who does. Like we got to build a team. Trying to figure this stuff out. Leslie says, friend, you sound like an apostle as much as a prophet. Absolutely amazing content always. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think we there's bits and pieces of all of those gifts as well. The evangelist, right? I'm evangelizing. There's people who have never heard this, any of this before, and it's their first time. There's prophesying because we're tapping into the prophetic, but a prophet as far as let's restore the foundations. Let's remember where we came from. Let's remember who we are. A prophet is one who restores the foundations. Hey, return. Hey, repent, right? And like you said, an apostle is one who oversees. I want to make sure that you guys get this. I want to be able to put you on this job and walk away and come back and you're still doing it. So it's discipleship too. It's a little bit of all of that for sure. But thank you for noticing that. Courtney says, a part of me says it's just the camera. Okay, I'm gonna go back to your first comment. In an older podcast you did a couple years back, your tattoos were on the opposite sides of the podcast. Is that a trick of the camera? Okay, so yeah, I think that what it was, I have to look at the dang feed. It is a trick of the camera because I tried to, for some reason I feel like the camera got flipped around backward, and like the stuff that I was looking at myself and the stuff on my shirt was reading backward. Let me just look at it because I want to make sure I pick the right setting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the stuff on, like I did a talk the other day and I had a shirt on and it said something across the top, but it was backward on the screen. And I was like, oh yeah, I got to fix that. So I just went in and flipped the camera on Zoom, and that's what that is. So yeah, my right arm is, it's showing right now. Because you guys should see me on the left, my right arm being on the left versus my right arm being on the right. So you could tell the text is right. Cool. So yeah, that's what I did. I flipped it. And you could do that. I remember talking to somebody who podcasts and does video Zooms, and they're like, hey man, all of my stuff is backward. How do I fix it? Can I fix it? So yeah, just click this setting. Changes it. Listen, 2.5 hours. This is good because we've been doing these short podcasts lately. We've been doing like an hour tops. Motivation, man. Staying motivated, staying hungry. Courtney says, a part of me says it's just the camera, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, did they swap him out with a clone? And they got the tattoos mixed up. They swapped me out, but they got the tattoo. They had to do little tricks like that to see if you guys would notice. It's just a flip. Yeah, it's a flip because the text would be backward. If I held up a book or something, the thing would be, and it's supposed to be like that, but I think it reset it with an update in the Zoom app, and I didn't catch it till later. So yeah, tattoos are on the right side, right arm. Left arm. some here too. But yeah, man, anybody have any questions before I go? I'm finna jump off of here. I'm having fun hanging out and just talking. I'm giving you game, man. $1 million worth of game. Take what you do with it. I can show you better than I can tell you, but anything that I can tell you, trust me, it's only what I'm doing. The rest of it's theories. It's, do you suppose? What do you think? Maybe this. Okay. It is said. It is said that this happens. It is, people believe that but once you step into this place of knowing, you can speak with conviction. And so I'm only going to tell you what's working for me, because a lot of people hold that back. They won't tell you what's working for them and fear that you'll become their competition. Funny, there's friendly competition, but again, if you really care about this, the niche or the subjects or whatever, a rising tide raises all the ships. My dude just came on, Martin Willis. He said that he's got his podcast is called Podcast UFO. I will tell you, I had no idea that was his podcast, or even if there was a podcast named that. But I have a podcast as well called UFO Podcast. It's flipped. And guess what's on there? Only UFO stuff. It's this content. It's TruthSeekah Podcast. But it's got a different picture. And it's only got UFO content. You're not going to get an upload that says, hey, TruthSeekah wants to pray with you. What the hell? Why does TruthSeekah want to pray? She's talking about aliens last week. I'm not watching his prayer. And YouTube says, oh, they're not watching his prayer. They're not watching his prayer. The podcasting apps, they're not watching his prayer. Abort. But my passion is the little of all of it. So that's what the TruthSeekah podcast is. And I am thankful for the people that are even watching up to this point, because I think there's a lot of you. Again, they only show up if it's a Christian episode, if I'm interviewing a pastor or if I'm talking about Jesus. Other people only show up if it's a UFO episode or a mystical episode or whatever. They only subscribe for this kind of content. And so that hurts the algorithms. Courtney says if they read your book or read your book, they will understand all of it connects. For sure. And so that's what draws me. And I think what I was going to say about most of you who are like watching and something like this, but I can't rule out the people who are going to come later, because a lot of people get it. A lot of you want it all, like myself. You want to get into the UFO stuff. You want to get into the religion stuff. You want to get into the summoning demon stuff. You want to get into how to leave your body. You want to get into it's just spiritual. It's just spirituality. And I do think that everything is connected. Even if we just talked about mundane stuff. Somebody give me a mundane topic in the chat and I'll try to make it spiritual. I'll try to show you how it connects. You could talk about mundane stuff and then make it spiritual. You could talk about spiritual stuff and make it mundane, make it easy. That's what I do with my music. Take really deep esoteric concepts and explain them really nonchalantly, really plain. And then I take really simple concepts and expound. Because I think that's what a mystic is. Somebody asked me the other day, what is a mystic? I think it's somebody who can see everything as a portal to something deeper and something divine. Laurie says, give me all the things. For sure. I'm with you. That's what I want to. Sandy, like the beat, says, do you speak of numerology? Asking as a new subscriber. Yeah, a little bit. I'm no expert. I know a little about it. I interview people about it who I would consider experts, because the experts is somebody who's given their life to it, right? They've studied like it's their thing. They've given, 12 years of their life or 15 or 20 years of their life to this alone. And so I've had some of those people on. Anna, is it Anna doTERRA? Anna doTERRA. Let me see what her name is, 'cause I don't want to mess it up. We did a an interview, and we also did a webinar. Anna doTERRA or Dorothea. I really like the way she broke it down. But yeah, we did a couple of shows on that, but hers was really good. So if you go to TruthSeekah.com and type in Anna or type in numerology, you'll find that episode. And we also did a webinar. This was for the Mystic Circle, with her. It was a private like teaching, like one-on-one. So that she led for us after the. I had to have her on. It was like my mind was blown. She was pretty much reading my numbers, and they all lined up, which was interesting. And when we did the webinar, she taught everybody how to do their own numbers, and they all lined up, and it was pretty easy to do. So it was really cool. So yeah, check her out. And I'm big into numbers for like synchronicity, numbers that are popping out to you and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, make sure you check that out. Let's see. Humanitarian project, free store for all. King says, do I use this? I like the free speech says, I like the idea of being able to listen to a variety of topics on one channel. I think you are great. I can only listen till one. Lunch breaks over then. For sure, for sure. For sure. That's what I like. Especially people that you're into. Like, dang, you're into that? We have boxes, man. We put people in boxes, you know? You feel like if you hear the Christian episode, and that's why the Christians don't really like I'm talking about the hardcore Christians, like, you know, the religious people. They can't fathom that these things can go together. And I'm showing you that biblically they do go together. Like astrology, aliens, psychic abilities. Like Courtney said, read my book. I'll show you where they fit. UFOs in the Bible, like psychic abilities in the Bible. It's just not by those terms. They don't say the Palladians. They don't say the starships flew. But it says a light ship, a chariot that was on fire that's flying through the sky. It says a vehicle of light, a vehicle that's on fire is flying. And we're following it. And it led us here. We read the stars, and the stars led us to the birth of the Messiah. Nope, astrology and Christianity don't go together. You want to bet? You haven't had the experience. You haven't read it. It ain't just about reading it, though. It's about reading it and maybe listening to a talk where your favorite pastor says, yes, they do go together, but I can't really say much. You're like, oh, wow, my pastor said they go together. No, I found TruthSeekah's book. You got to have something that illuminates it for you. It is about light. It is about possibility. But once you see it, then you get it and you know it. And whatever it takes for that person to see it, to get it, to know it. Again, like we've been saying far out esoteric stuff that's in the Bible and occult stuff in the Bible and beautiful stuff. Getting crucified for it. You're not invited back to our church. You're a devil worshiper. But then when the pastor teaches it, oh yeah, my pastor's been talking about aliens. My pastor's been talking about the Illuminati was the first thing, or the Book of Enoch. Remember us talking about the Book of Enoch in churches, and they running us out of there. That's not in the Bible. But now, like, your favorite pastor will speak on Enoch, and or the Illuminati, or whatever the case is. And so I've always been a forerunner. Many of us have, to some degree, but you got to learn how to not be offended and not those kind of things, and everything comes full circle. Laurie says, my husband studies the stars and the entire gospel is there. A lot of good stuff, for sure. Everything's there. That's where it talks about the lamb who was slain before the foundation of the earth. His story was written in the stars first. And whatever happens on earth is an emanation of the stars. So it was the Lamb who was slain before the foundation of the earth. His story was there, then it manifested on the earth. Just like that's where astrology comes in. Whatever's manifested in the stars shows itself on the earth. It's a mirror. It's as above, so below. It's on earth as it is in heaven. Everything. We're a mirror. Everything's a mirror. There's many. It's not just those two. There's many mirrors. In your heart, the throne room of heaven, your anatomy, your psyche, Golgotha, the place of the cross, and the Bible is filled with those layers. But until that layer is revealed to you, you'll never get it. You'll never get it. Until it's revealed. And you can't force your way into it either. It has to be revealed to you. So you got to go to the one who reveals it. It's God. It's the creator. It's the universe. It's consciousness. As you're privy. Because if you force your way in, you're not welcome. You're there illegally. Mystic Eye says, you talked about weight loss. I find that spiritually uplifting as we go deeper. For sure. Most Christians eventually on their walk, God deals with their diet at some point. At some point. Like, how are you talking about, like, the fruits of the spirit is self-control. That's one of the fruit of the spirit. Why can't you control yourself? When it comes to food, I can control myself when it comes to this and to that and to this and to, why not food? Bro, you're obese. You're obese and you're telling me how to live. And one of the fruits of the spirit is to be able to control what you put in your mouth. I'm controlling my body's going to die one day. Yeah, a lot quicker too. God deals with your diet for sure. One of the fruits of the spirit is self-control. People telling you that they love God and they love the Holy Spirit and they walk with the Holy Spirit, but they have no self-control. Now, obviously, it could come with time. It wasn't illuminated to them yet. They didn't put two and two together. Listen, there's grace. God can use whoever he wants to use. Whatever vessel, whatever. So we shouldn't write them out automatically because of whatever thing that the first thing we see. You're a very large man, sir, telling me about resistance and resisting devils, and you can't resist devil's food cake. I'm sorry. But it's part of it. And I project that on him, but I have to project that on me. I had to project it on me. I teach spirituality. I teach, fellowship with the Holy Spirit. And if you're not doing it, you're a hypocrite. And so the two go hand in hand. And that's why I do talk about my health now. And I'm seeing results now. 1,000 good decisions. 1,000 prayers. 1,000 this, 1,000 that. 1,000 friends. Sandy says, come on, amen, for sure. Sandy says, I can say this, I have felt different as a child knowing things in this manner of mystical, and I feel grateful I found your channel. I feel like I'm home. Thank you. That's what it's about. We all have. And that was a cool revelation for me of being open and having all of these weird thoughts about the Bible or about aliens or psychic abilities or whatever. And I knew it in my head, but I couldn't match it in the Bible. And so I went on this journey to find it. And I began finding scriptures that were like, oh, wow, I knew that was real. I had no idea. I had no proof. I had no scriptural references. But now, boom, I knew elementals were real. I seen one at age 13. But they're not in the Bible. Oh, wow, here's this story of this being that comes out of the fire and has a conversation with Manoah. It's an angel. It says angel. Well, that's an angel. That's not an elemental. No. It was the word angel means a messenger. So he had a message. A messenger of God came out of the fire. The fire is an element. It lived in the fire. It travels through fire. Wow, that's an angel of the element. It's an elemental. Come on. No, brother, that's not, you're reading into it. No. Well, why in the New Testament it says that it talks about the rudiment elements of the world? The stoicheon, they call them that. It was like living beings that were behind the elements. Nope, that's not of God. That, the thing about it from a Christian perspective is that they would let the New Age and the Satanism and Wiccans and all of these other traditions have all the cool stuff. It's not, that was only for back then. Why was it only for back then? Why is it not back then for the witches who get to leave their body, or the pagans? They're leaving their body talking to beings, and they did it in the Bible. Like Jesus did it, you know, the disciples did it. Yeah, that was them. Nah, what's good for one is good for everybody. Across the board. If it's dead and done away with, it should be dead and done for the witches too, but it ain't. Y'all gave it away is what you did. You were talked out of your inheritance, not me. I went back and found it, reclaimed it. Not just me, all of us. We're doing this now together. A rising tide raises all of the ships, because other people bring stuff to me that's a nugget or something I didn't know, and I do it for you and for them, and we work together. We got to look at it that way. No, we're not competition. We're complementing one another. We're compliments to one another. Guys, I got to jump off here. Enjoyed hanging out. I'm going to start doing more just open, free flow, and also Bible studies, whether they're pre-recorded or we do them with a Zoom group, or I just do my own personal studies and then come back and teach it biblically. I think it's cool that if we do a study together, then like a live study versus a teaching, then you can see how to study. Like you can see how to break words down, not just reading, but reading and like really trying to see how many layers to that thing that you just read, and what it means for you, and what it means for the stars, and what it means for everything. So let me know if that's something that you guys would like to do. I think that doing it together is more vulnerable. But I started off doing it that way. We had online studies and stuff. We may get back to that. I haven't done it in years. I haven't studied like this in years. I've been seeing so much stuff in the scriptures that are just reigniting my heart for the places I started, and I want to be able to incorporate that. Obviously, I'm incorporating it in conversation, but you got to be able to show people. I can tell you, I can quote it, but like having the scripture pop up on the screen, showing the Bible verse, the reference, listen, that's how people get it. You got to go back and break down, give bread, give milk to people too. They got to see it in the scripture. They got to see it applicable. So, we're going to see what happens. So, Laurie says, so good. Thank you. I've been super blessed by your free meditations. Awesome. Yeah, they were so good to put behind a paywall, and people donate. People do download them and donate. And I made a good bit of money off of them. Like I'm happy with the money that I made and was making. And so there's a fear that if you make them free, nobody's going to give. But that's the ego. No, people are looking for ways to give. Oh, really? That's a new revelation. You sure? Yeah, that's standard. There's a system of honor, and we want to help when we can. And the people who can't give, they can click like, they can share, and that person that sees it is going to donate. It's just how it works. Eliminating the fear, the thing that's telling you no. That's the adversary, learning the voice of the accuser, because there's two voices speaking. Listen, guys, I got to stop. I'm going to keep going. We're already doing about 3 hours. I got stuff to do today. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Thanks, y'all. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for all of the support. And no matter what shows you like and what shows you hang out for, I appreciate you regardless. I like all of them, and we'll see what happens. I do feel some new direction for the new year. So be praying for me, and that I'll have direction on what to do next. And because we got a lot of irons in the fire, and maybe some of them need to come out, and maybe some new ones need to go in. So be praying for me and my family, and and just for the collective. Like I'm a leader. I'm not going anywhere. This is what I was created to do. I just got to make sure I'm doing it right and doing it effective. You can do the right thing, but do it for the wrong reasons or do it the wrong way, and it falls upon deaf ears. So there's a way to do whatever it is that you do and be powerful and effective. And it could be tweaking a couple things. It could be as literally as, hey, listen, don't do alien episodes on this channel. Have a different channel. Let those people subscribe. Go live anytime it's an alien episode. I guarantee if I did that, I would see more growth for sure. But you'd have to promote them all differently. Obviously, there would be one hub, which is TruthSeekah, but then there's these other hubs that kind of promote themselves because the people promote them and the algorithms promote them too. So anyway, we will talk soon. Mr. Guy says, I'm proud of you, bro. No shade. I'm happy that it's paying off and you feel great about yourself on another new level with the working out diet. Working on that myself for sure. I think we all should. And say, God convicts people eventually on their walk about their diet. Even Smith Wigglesworth at the end of his life talks about like God told him to eat kosher. That's how it started for me, eating kosher. A lot of people moved to vegan or vegetarian. I say God, the UFO alien stuff, whatever that is, consciousness, if it is God speaking to you through those means, we don't know. But they deal with your diet too. They deal to take care of your body, take care of your temple, because your body is an electrical board. It's a machine. It needs gas to run. You're going to be tired. You're going to be sluggish. You're not going to be in shape. So it's like, yeah, you got to take care of your body, and even like vibrationally, the food and the things that you're putting in your body, which simply represent again a form of your spirituality, your self-control. You can eat a salad once, but can you eat it for a week? You can eat it for a week. Can you eat it for a month, 2 months, a year? Can you replace one meal? Can you do this? Can you do that? Peace and shalom. If you guys want to support and get updates on the stuff that we're doing with the community hangouts or Bible studies, I'm most likely that stuff will be promoted through Patreon for sure. But we also have people like subscribing on YouTube and being members here because they're on this platform a lot and they get the alerts, and same thing with Facebook. There's people subscribing on Facebook to the Partners program. So I have to figure out a way to send the alerts and the updates to all of those platforms. So I'm working on it. I got a team. We're building. We're learning. So thank y'all for supporting. It means the world. With that, I'm gonna say peace and shalom. We will do it again. Peace. Oh, wrong button. This button.
Your will so much higher than mine. So much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine. So much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.